They always knock kids off. Phew. Yeah, we didn't realize what a pain this was going to be. Scotty put them all on. Scotty and somebody was with him, and I thought, oh, that looks good. And then it keeps wanting to pop off for some reason. I'm like, ooh. So how did that meeting go?
Very well.
Good. Was
It'd
that
been better if it had better turnout, but
somebody who told me nobody ever shows up? And I said, yeah, it's like this municipal aid. I said, nobody will be there, and they weren't.
I think Steve was up there and sat in, so, yeah, hopefully this will go well.
Yeah. You know how that goes.
I get it.
He's obsessing. He's obsessing. Yeah. I thought, just let it go. And I hate that she wants to drop it. Babe does too. I thought you all don't understand. You were talking about it, COVID's when it happened. Well, we had priced a new deck material right before COVID hit. Then afterward, I was like, ooh, we're not doing the deck anytime soon. Yeah,
So,
awful.
I bought a board, it's called an LVL. And what an LVL is a board that is engineered by an engineer. And it's got wood that goes like that. It's glued with a certain glue. It's pressed to a certain pressure. It's a certain size, okay? But what I wanted to do my living room is 24 feet. I wanted a vault.
Yeah.
I had to have a 26-foot LVL to do that.
Ooh.
Okay, so the only place you can get anything like that is 84 Mall. Right? So this was in November of 20. All right. So I went to 84. I called and said, I need an LVL. Do you have one in stock? How much is it? They said, it was $74. Okay. So
Yeah, not bad.
yeah. So I get there, and the guy rings it up. It's $134. And I said, I called, and it was $74. I said, now it's $60 more. What?
Yeah.
He said, well, what the guy told me on the phone was, he said, so due to COVID, prices have increased. So for us to get another one in, it'll cost us so much more money. I was like, really? He said, oh yeah, it gets better. So they have to bring it out on a forklift because it's heavy. So he brings it out. He puts it in my trailer. I'm strapped. This guy standing there. One thing I wasn't thinking about on an LVL, every LVL has to be dated, and it's got a stamp on it, just showing who done it in case it failed.
Right.
So that LVL was damn near 2 years old. So there's a great example of what COVID did.
Yeah.
Right there.
Bullshit is what it was. It's like, oh my God, there's no reason. And then all you could get were the shit that looked like that. I was like,
Right.
what is the boards that you use? It's not wood, it's
For what?
your decking.
Oh,
There's another,
it's called,
well, I thought about that stuff, but that shit is
Trex.
hot.
Trex.
Hot, hot, hot when you step on it.
It's hot because what it is recycled plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta have a rug or something if you're gonna walk in a certain spot. But man, for maintenance wise, you never.
Yeah, that is one thing. I thought, that would be nice, because my deck is just trashed. I mean, hell, it was 2020. We were going to redo the base of it was all fine, but the top boards look awful. And now Mark's like, oh my God, I'm not paying. I said, it's not going down. I'm just letting you know. I said, so unless you want the damn thing to fall apart where it sits. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep.
We need T111 is what my siding is.
That's a little pricey right now too.
I know. I was like, what the hell? That used to be the cheap stuff.
So, we just built a new chicken coop. Do you need a small chicken coop?
Yeah, I would love it.
Really?
I've got,
Let me get. I don't think I really have a good picture.
did you use,
So this is my chicken coop, and I built a new one.
oh,
And
cool.
we put T111. Well, we were going to put T111. So they make one that's only T111's half inch, and you can get it in 5/8 or something. We went with a thinner one because of chicken coop. you know.
Right.
So that's what we put on
That looks good.
that. But this is free tug at home. All that is a piece of wood that I had screwed up there for a wind block, because we had baby chicks. They got their feathers, but they were just really, really small. We were still
Yeah.
in cool weather, so that comes right off. But I'll show you a picture of it without. It was connected to the other.
Yeah, when that tornado, yeah, heck yeah, I would love it. When that tornado came through, it took the chicken run. We put our coop in the chicken run, and it took everything. And I thought it was going to fling it over the fence. It was lifted so high, and it just torqued everything out.
So there it is. So this is actually the door. It's all screened.
Oh, nice.
So what I done was covered it with wood because of the chicks being so small.
Right.
And it was still, like I say, quite cool, you know, but
That's cute.
that's it.
I love it.
You know, it's about 6 foot by 6 foot maybe, or something like that. It's probably, you know, however tall it is, and the run goes out the other way. See if I got a picture of that.
I know. Was it? You,
They'll all be down in about 2 minutes.
But it's, yours if you want.
oh, I would love it.
It could use just a little bit of tightening in a couple of spots. Like I say, that thing.
That's
I put a picture of my run. You can see it's got a, so on the very bottom, when I was hoping to find a picture, there's a door. So if you want to keep the chicks or the big chickens under, you can, while you're cleaning out the top or whatever. And then there's a ramp, you know, a walk that they walk up to go up in it. So
did you get you got a bigger one?
we built that bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got more chickens now. And on the back of that one, I think there's 3 laying boxes.
Okay. That sounds a whole lot like the one we have. Like I said, it just got torqued. I love those fresh eggs.
Yeah, we love the chickens. They're so soothing and just relaxing.
I've got one that's being mean and plucking. I got one that's being mean. I have no rooster because we're not supposed to have them over there, although people have them.
There's the walk goes up
Cool.
above it, but you can see I took the door off right there.
Right.
And the door is screened, so they can go under that where the screening is there. Because when we added this big run, we didn't need that little door.
Exactly.
So, but that just kind of gives you an
Oh,
idea.
I love it.
It is, so
Yeah.
if you want
No,
to let me know.
that I absolutely do. Would that fit in a little truck?
Should.
Okay, I was gonna say, cause we only have that S10. Runs like turd, but we keep it cause it does its job.
Worst case, you can, you know, if you got there and it didn't, take my trailer home. I'll get it another day.
Oh, God, I don't trust Mark's driving well enough. Oh,
Let's see if we notice.
yeah,
See if
We'll
I'll
see.
take some notice.
yeah, somebody will say something. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, he's, I thought this is gonna be a long, years if this keeps going like this.
Oh, where's Rob?
He had to step out for just a minute.
All right. Again, no action taken at this point. All right. Yep.
Correct.
As soon as he gets back here.
That went well.
Yeah.
Darren loves me. Darren loves me.
Somebody has to. If it's not Will, somebody has to.
I know, I'm hard to love. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'll call you later and I'll tell you what my thoughts are. Kept thinking to myself, I was actually doing really good about myself. I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay.
She coming?
Did you find Waldo?
Yeah.
Yep, I found him.
No restroom breaks are permitted.
I'm not kidding.
Did you hear what I said?
All
Did you
right,
find Waldo?
The K9 unit ate my homework.
I'd like to make a motion. We come back in session.
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Please. All right. We can get a roll call, please.
Brad?
Yes.
Yes.
Faith? Yes. Jennifer?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
All right, thank you at this point. Tom, at this point, at our executive session, no action was taken, please. I'll let you know. All right. What we do have, I made sure that I had, obviously, I've got Chief Steve here, Chief Jody, I've got Tom, and I've got Sam here, obviously, and then I've got Miss Angie in the back there. I made sure that I brought them back today for any additional questions on anything on budget-wise. When we first started this, you guys requested these two meetings. I'm gonna make sure, I know you've had it for about 8 weeks, the budgets, but I wanna make sure if there's any last questions that you might have from these individuals, I made them come here today. Arthur could not make it in but it's really Scott, he's on vacation from a sewer standpoint. So if there's anything out that you do need, obviously, we're gonna read these tonight. I just wanna make sure if there's anything else that you needed to get from them. So they are here. So before I do any readings, I wanna make sure that you guys, Faith, do you have any questions that you need for like Angie, for the admin side, or Brenda?
I don't think so.
Okay, just wanna make sure. Rob, do you have anything?
Any questions?
Yes, okay, great. Jennifer, are we good over here with admin? Do you have anything that you have out there?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
So with so from our last meeting,
which
I
department?
just, no, it's just in general, it's
Okay.
just the budget in general, that I'm not happy with.
Okay.
Because, and it just kind of, it came about after
Mike.
thinking about not having,
Hit your mic, please.
sorry, not having the, skate park in there. I really feel like these miscellaneous project lines and stuff like that, they really should be broken out. I'm not saying the whole budget needs to be a line item budget, but there are certain sections of that budget that need to be line items. So I'm just gonna put that out.
I agree with that as well. Like in the last meeting, we know what we want. Like, the department heads gave me like a rundown of what they wanted.
Of their expenditures and the budget is it?
And yes, I thought we were doing comments, I thought we were doing questions, but yeah, I would like to have that in there, yes.
Well, obviously, we can't change the way this budget reads here, plus you have all of the actual itemized you get monthly, gives you all the information you want, both of you guys. What we're reading today is actually just the budget as it is today. You still get itemized of everything that's spent. So I'm kind of confused by, why does it have to be in this ordinance when it doesn't need to be? You also have it every month that you get it. You see every purchase of every department, of every line. So Jennifer, you have all that information, you
Well, I
see.
didn't that's what I'm saying.
You have it every
The
month.
last one,
Well, like
I
she,
didn't.
yeah, like she mentioned the
The
skate park.
skate
and
park.
the skate park wasn't in the
not
budget.
in last year's budget.
Okay, skate park was part of the park plans, okay? The biggest piece for you in all of this is it's part of our park plans. Part of the things got moved around by the cost of the aquatic center.
Well-
We made adjustments, please let me finish. We made adjustments on the amount of money that we actually had for the 30 million. It went to 25. It changed the dynamics of, we originally thought maybe $21 million. We had $9 million for all of our park plans. Well, as you well know, it went to 25 too. And that changed the dynamic as of what we kept and what we didn't. The nice part about it was we were able to put it back in there because we got a donation. And we used part of our money that we purchased the tourism building, okay, was part of the $500,000. So if you add those two together, there's the money that we actually had dedicated was part of one of our plans. We were able to put it back into play. That's really what this comes down to. For what you don't have or don't know, the biggest thing is we have a list of things that we want to get done. We are trying to get those things done as we have finances to do it. We had to change dynamics, and then we changed it back because we had allocations given to us. Now, whether we put that back into the budget as far as the allocation that you wanted, but I'm a little confused
We
by,
had the donation though, from the get-go.
no, we didn't.
Yeah,
We
2
did not.
years ago.
We got
When
that.
we started talking about a skate
We
park,
got it
we got
late.
a donation.
So my question is this, the
And the
question about,
donation wasn't in the budget. And on that meeting, on May 12th at 12:58, you specifically said the money was not added to the budget.
the donation wasn't
And
added.
then, right.
The
there was no
donation.
line. And then you said that we found it when we were doing an audit. Well,
No,
so
we
there
no,
was
no.
nothing in the so really what it boils down to is this. We did not have it in, it was not in the budget, is really what it comes down to. is
It was
wasn't in
part of the
budget.
park plans,
I would just-
Jennifer.
I'm just saying, I would like to see our budget, when it has miscellaneous projects, that those projects are specified.
Okay.
That's all it
Yes.
says.
You already, but you had it itemized. If you look at Tom's, we just gave you all of that for this budget. So I'm confused by the budget that we're actually trying to approve. The budget that we're trying to approve, that you want and Rob wants, you've got right now in place because did we not itemize all of the $6 million that we have spent? We went through all of that. I can bring Tom back up and we can do this again. You have everything itemized where the money's being allocated in those public works.
Did we get a copy of that?
We went over the projects. They're actually listed, they're in our minutes.
Right, but like Tom had like a $200,000 miscellaneous charge. I don't remember what it was. I have it somewhere, but I asked Tom and he said, I want this, 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 and this, and this. And that's what I'm asking for is for that to be in the
So
actual budget.
it's not gonna be in the budget itself. Tom, I say, do me a favor, would you put us in an email? We'll do an itemized email for everybody here in the council. They know all that money's being allocated.
Okay, well, but then here's the issue. I was told that we do not, approve bids if they're in the budget. If they're not listed in this budget, then they're not in the budget. If
So-
it says miscellaneous, that's not in the budget.
Okay, you get, anything that's not
Just
on
so
a
we
general,
said-
con-
just
okay,
so we
it's,
know.
okay. How about general contractor? General contractor does that. We did 80 bids for the aquatic center. All of that has been bidded out to general contractors. So we have one person that delegates all of that. It's all got bidded out. Now, if we go into another general contractor, like we did in the park, all that has to be bidded out. Okay, and that's what we're doing. So what part of the bidding process I'm missing here?
The skate park is what I'm talking about.
It
That
got
was
bidded
not-
out.
Right, it got bid out,
Okay,
and we did not approve the bid, and it was
You don't
$400,000.
approve bids.
Yes, we do.
okay.
Yes.
If it's
Okay,
not
you,
in the
okay,
budget,
okay,
we
if it's,
approve the bid.
but I'm saying is, but we had the budget approved for that work. We had to go through an agency to do that. It wasn't like we didn't do the bidding like we do. It had to be bid out through a national contract because not everybody does skate parks. It wasn't gonna be done locally. Just like the playground was done through a bidding through, we sent that information to you. You were sent information of both the links and how those two were actually bidded out. One was national, one was state. The rest of the bidding we did in-house. Because those things aren't available everywhere here in Kentucky. We go through a process, we go through that. So to answer your question, on the skate park, it was actually done at a professional level, at a national level, because there's maybe 6 companies that do them across the country. It wasn't like you could just put that bid out here in a publication here for the state. It has to be through one of those type of agencies. So those are the only 2 exceptions. Everything else that we can get done with contractors to build an aquatic center, we actually did
I'm not
actually
talking
have,
about the aquatic center.
I'm sorry?
I wasn't talking about.
I'm
the
not,
aquatic
but I'm just telling you about those 2. I guess my question is, so we're moving forward.
So I would just like to, like I said, all I said was, I would like to see it. If they're not, then when we're doing these projects, then we need to amend budgets and stuff like that, because this stuff is not coming through us. You're just sending us stuff later. I'm not in agreement with it. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. So what,
And I'm just putting it out there.
well, that's fine. And my question to you is, if in this, we don't specify,
No, I know you don't in this. in this ordinance right here,
Yeah.
I know you're not.
Uh-huh.
But even in this, I don't have a breakdown. I don't know what projects and how much those projects are, and when you all bid them out, you know, it's
You don't know
just-
what projects that we have
like
going
I
on.
said, no, we don't until they're done. Then you're telling us, then we're getting emails saying, well, we spent this much, we did this much. And like, we did pickleball courts and basketball courts in the park.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to be bid out.
$90,000. Yes, they did. We even asked KLC
Okay.
at the thing, and they said, yes, that has to be bid out, that's one project.
Okay, so-
They said it's not three.
So I want to make sure that you know this is our legal advice on this. Tom went right through her first to do this, okay? And we were given our,
And we talked to KLC,
and again, KLC, what
and
they,
they agreed with us.
but Catherine, you want
Am
to
I-
step
Am I
up?
wrong? Am I wrong?
Again,
And
Catherine,
that's
you
what
wanna-
I'm
you wanna
saying.
expand on this?
Stuff it should be out there.
I
in this
can't-
budget.
you're asking that we're doing this. We went through our legal counsel to do this for all of you guys,
So I
okay?
feel like there's like multiple parts to this conversation, and we're kind of jumbling some stuff. So first, I want to find out I understand. So when you say you want the skate park on here, I see on this long one, the skate
That's
park
this
for.
year.
Okay, I got it. I'm asking what you want in there. So right now, I see a skate park 7412. It says
Yeah,
250,000.
they put it in for next year's
Okay,
budget.
so is that the line you would want it to see in here?
It was in, it should have been in this year's budget.
But we're
Okay,
talking,
but you're talking about what you want to see now, and I'm trying
No,
to find
I'm
out what
talking
do you want
about
to see now.
now, what I wanna see.
Yeah, so what do you
is
wanna
those
see?
broken down, each line that says
Jennifer, you wanted
miscellaneous
something
project.
like this, like,
So you're wanting to see this more broken down?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this. I didn't get
I
it
ain't
for
looking at
now.
that.
Just an
something like what you
example,
wanted to
like-
see broke down.
Like the projects that
In
Tom
this,
mentioned,
Not that, that's financials.
Okay.
I just
Yeah,
want to see
I know.
those
You want it there.
because he knows what he wants for his departments.
Yeah,
okay,
And
but,
they're
Okay, say
over
like,
40,000.
So give me that.
So I wanna see
what
those.
something that, give me an
we,
example. so I
and then
can-
for
we have already, they're
transparency
broken out
purposes.
by
Say
millions
like
of
this.
dollars, the different ones. They have to be
Department
vetted out if the
projects.
project costs more than that
$110,000.
piece. Okay, so
Okay,
I want that broken down.
okay,
I
so
want-
here's the thing.
Not
If you,
everything in this needs to be broken down. Like I
Okay.
said, there's certain things in here that really they don't need to be I don't need to know certain.
okay,
like-
so
like
Tom,
your
what is
things.
covered under 110,000
In
for,
departmental
in department
projects.
projects? Give me some ideas. What I did, what are some things that you have in there?
Stormwater project behind Rancho Estates.
Okay,
Right, so
okay, so here's
So-
the thing. If he breaks it down and he says that project A is 20,000 and project B is gonna be 30,000, and then those numbers flip, he's gonna have to delay doing that and come back and get council approval to
Okay.
switch those
Perfect.
numbers.
Well, I
So
did.
that
No,
is you all need
not
to
with-
figure
I
out.
did send an
The
email to
operation?
all department heads, and I got them back from 2 department heads, and that was the fire and the police. They're the only 2 I've received them back from. And they broke stuff down, fire trucks, whatever, I don't even remember, but that's what we're wanting to know, what are we doing? I mean, we get the budget, and then we hear that, well, we're doing the skate park, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, but we don't know the amount of money. We're really, I mean, you will tell us, we're gonna start on this in March, we're gonna start on this in April, or whatever.
But those projects
But we
already-
wanna know what projects are coming up and how much they're gonna cost and how, you know.
we just did that in the last meeting. We're talking about the budget.
But it's not, but we're not putting it on paper.
You know, one thing I'd like to throw out there, I've not got an email or a phone call from any of the.
I sent an email to everybody, Tom, I did, and I can
Yes, you
look it
did.
up.
No, asking me about the things you're talking about.
I did. I sent an email quite a while back asking all department heads to send me this. I got them from 2 department heads, that's it. I sent them to every
I
department.
apologize, I didn't see
No, I
it.
didn't send them to Brenda, I apologize, Brenda, I
we
didn't.
don't have them.
Yeah.
By all means, I'm not hiding anything.
Well, I just figured you didn't get it, cause you were going through some stuff at the time.
Come see me, sit at my desk, I'll email you, anything you need.
Well-
We've got it all.
as I said in our meeting a couple of months ago, I do want to publish this too. And I know it costs a lot to publish it in the newspaper, but we had got approval to publish this from the mayor to publish that on Shepherdville, our website, for transparency's sake. So,
You have that information. Again, the biggest thing in this, the transparency
we
piece.
may have some of that
You have it, but you have a monthly report that's available to anybody who wants to see it. That you can show them every purchase that we have. You
Right.
can show them all of our accounts. You can show them the itemized of the $30 million line by line. So if we're talking about giving out information financially, if you have somebody that's concerned about the way we spend money, have them take a look at it. That's the biggest thing you can. If we're talking about this budget that we're trying to approve, Jennifer, if you want, again, obligations to that money is already set. We know where the 1 million for the playground has got to be used. We know the 2 million, okay, we broke down, the 2 million is for the filtration building, the ARPA money as we call it. We mentioned 1.6 for the amphitheater, 1.6 for the town square, and that money is allocated out there. And again, anything that's not in this allocated money, all of that still has to be bidded out. It's not, Jennifer, it's not just gonna get started and go, we gotta bid out for all these projects. And I guess my question is, those things are gonna get bid out, what are we missing here? If you get to know, like, we're letting you know the projects as they've started. We've tried to do some of the land work. We've started on the town square. We've done some work in the park. And part of that with the park is, again, we're taking legal advice on this, Jennifer. We don't do things just to do them, not to make sure, we ask, we try to ask to make sure we're doing everything right. This has been more transparent of anything finances that's ever been done in the city. And my thing is, when we're telling you what we're doing, we've gone through the proper channels to get them started. That playground, that was already, it was bidded out, that part was bidded out for that. But the site plan and all that stuff had to go through Hagerman. They are bidding that stuff out. They're the general contractor. They are obligated. They don't just to get to be general contractor and just go buy anything they want to. They have to bid it out because it's over 40,000. They do the work. We do not. They don't get to change it.
The skate park wasn't Hagerman.
No, what I'm getting at, it was
Does that come out
ramp,
of the general
American
fund?
Ramp. They bid it out. We're following, whether you like what you didn't know. We did it the right way.
Flynn Brothers.
That's a site
that you
plan.
sent, yeah. So you signed that, we opened the bids here. Right in here, the bids were opened in here,
For which one?
for the skate park with Flynn Brothers. And we did not approve that bid. I was told because if it's in the budget, we don't have to, it was not in the budget. The skate park was not in the budget. We talked
Okay,
about it at.
we're still talking skate park. Can we talk about the budget we're in?
I'm talking about the budget.
We're
we're in.
talking about the budget. We're trying to approve the budget. If we
And
can,
I'm saying for the next budget, this is what I would like to see.
And just like
I'm
the
just
skate
saying.
park got overlooked and came up in an audit, the first
What did-
bank,
The
skate
skate park
park?
entirely didn't get overlooked.
Yeah,
Well, it wasn't in the budget.
According to the last meeting, it did.
and then we never did reconcile the budget.
no, you were asking about the 250 to be, no, you asked for the 250 to be actually managed, the 150 and the 40,000. That's why I put it there. That was part of the park plans. We had everything laid out. Again, I can go back to the money thing changed, and then we actually had a chance to, my concern is this. You're saying that it wasn't in the budget, but that money was only allocated there because it was the donation. I told you that what they did was they dropped that money at 250,000 into general fund. It wasn't allocated like it should have been. It should have been tagged. Well, we know that it's gonna be tagged once we use that to pay any of the expenses there.
So what I'm saying is, it was just floating around in the general fund. It wasn't allocated. So if it's not allocated in the budget, it's not budgeted for it.
And did the donation cover the entire cost?
It didn't. And again, we
So
mentioned.
what was the difference?
The difference, I just mentioned that to you, the tourism building that we bought, Rob. Now, I just mentioned it. Now, you gotta make sure the
Okay.
things that I tell you, that you listen to what I'm saying to you. Okay?
Right, so
Again, let's not
the
be
money
mean.
that was spent above and beyond the donation, and it wasn't budgeted.
It was budgeted in the 30 million. It was part of the park plans. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We had park plans all laid out. Okay? Things changed because of the cost of the aquatic center. We were able to move some things around, and then all of a sudden, now we get our money back for the building, the tourism building. That was money allocated for our park projects. So what do? We were able to use that money, that $500,000 for the tourism building. You all know that they purchased it, correct? You take that in the 250, that is the $750,000 for the skate park. Okay, now it may be off $30,000 or $40,000. I'm sorry, costs keep going up. I can tell you that, but it was bidded out, and it was bidded out on the ramp. It was American Ramp that did the skate park itself. The site plan was actually bidded out. There's nothing in the process of bidding that we have not done. It may not be in the way that you want it done, okay, either one of you two, but it's important you see that we didn't do anything that was with legal advice on certain things as far as the park is concerned. But when it comes to anything that we've actually done, we put it through a bidding process. I don't know where you're missing the bidding process.
Okay, if you want a yes vote for the budget from me, I wanna see these.
Okay, you go ahead and vote, you gotta vote for it, let me just make sure it's understood, it'll be publicly known that right now, I want people that wanna support doing things for the city. You think about that, and the same thing, Jennifer. I'm not mad at either one of you. You guys
We
need
do
to,
support things for the
Yes,
city.
you know, it's a little ironic.
It's,
We,
what it boils down to is, it's just, I'm asking that some of these projects be listed in the budget.
So they don't have to be
So
listed.
that means I don't want anything for the city?
No, what it does mean is that you're
No,
not
that's
allowing
what
him.
you're trying to say.
Excuse me.
That's wrong.
Okay, please don't get like
I
that.
totally
We're gonna be
want
professional
stuff for
here,
the
Jennifer.
city.
Jennifer,
But
we're
what
gonna
I'm saying
be,
is,
we're gonna be professional here.
this is what we're talking about.
Okay, we're gonna be professional here.
No, you're not gonna come out at me
Excuse
like
me, you're not
that.
gonna do that again. You've done it once before. Tom, here's what we did. We did actually break that down. We broke all, and it was actually isolated money. 1, the 2, and then 1.6, 1.6. We broke that down, showing that that was in your allocated money. That's important, okay? Now, I don't know what I need to do with that. We don't lock the budget down in any way like that. Those are capital projects that we've got listed. That could change.
Absolutely.
Could that not change?
And when it does, you come back to council and we move it around. And, it's fiscal responsible.
So how much detail do you want?
How much what?
Detail in the ordinance do you want?
Like anything that's over the cap?
No,
Anything
no,
over
I
the-
want to know the lines. I want to know what this ordinance right here, what it would look like. I want to know what the lines would look like.
Okay, well, let me go, that one doesn't have much detail because that's a summary.
That's not a summary.
That's not
This is
summary,
the
that's
actual
the actual
ordinance.
Okay.
I
Well,
do not do any summaries when it comes to the budget. So
Okay.
I'm trying to
Anything-
figure out what your, cause I see a skate park for 250. Jennifer said she wanted that broken down more.
No, she wanted the
No.
skate park
So
on
you
the
would be
budget.
okay,
Yeah,
skate
it's
park
not
that
in,
says.
it's
Because
not
it
in
was
the
not on the
current
budget.
It wasn't in the current
this
budget.
current
and we-
budget is not on
So,
it.
so how about we do this? How about we do this? How about we take that, how about your long report? The long report you get monthly, that we detail it there so you see it. That gives you,
Is that published?
well, yes, we can publish it, and put it anywhere.
Okay, you said that about the last budget. Yeah, I want that on the,
Okay, it's not on this budget that she's actually reading. What we're gonna do is we put it on the long report you're gonna get every month. Why would you not have oversight over that? If in the long report, we take Tom's capital projects and we list them there, we'll itemize them, Tom, we'll put estimate amount, we'll just take that capital projects, the report. Look at that line, that 7,000 line on your long report for Public Works. And Tom's gonna itemize that, so you will see the money that's actually allocated for each one. That gives you the transparency you want. Now you know what exactly spent out of that $6 million. Remember that account's like almost 9 million, 9.3, was that what it was?
I think so.
All right, so 9.3, we know that 1.9 is used for actually operating the public works. We know the rest of that's actually gonna be used for that. We'll itemize that $7 million, right? And make sure you have it in there. All right.
If I may offer something,
No, go right.
I think that's where the strife is coming.
No.
It's not the general operating expenses of the department, it's just, we got a lot of money in this city, and we allocate a lot of money to these departments, so, so when we allocate money for miscellaneous projects, it would be nice to know, like, what we're spending on, that's all. It's not that we don't trust you with the money, it's just,
But we just did that last meeting, but Tom asked, but.
I understand that.
But Tom, nobody answered him back when you could have asked, he has a 9.3, you see it, it's a 9.3. If I saw 9.3 there, I'm gonna go, hey, Tom.
I asked all the department heads about,
Projects we don't have cost on.
We're
Right,
just
I mean,
giving you
when
estimated.
When you put money for miscellaneous projects, you don't even know what those projects necessarily are gonna be at the beginning of the year.
Some, that's correct.
Some you do know, but some of them you don't, right? So it's kind of a guesswork based on the previous year, right?
Yeah.
So,
Most of them have an idea of what project they want.
Right.
Yeah, but
But-
if it says on
Well,
there
that's-
1.9 million for miscellaneous projects, and you know what the projects are, we don't need to know what each project costs, just put below that 1.9 million what they are,
Yeah,
so that we
what-
know, just so that we know.
Right,
Yeah, and that's not that's not a problem.
Okay, so in the ordinance where,
Well, it was a
this.
minute ago.
No, in the long report it is, not in the ordinance.
no,
Jennifer.
I'm hearing what Bonnie is saying, and she's like, okay, so under, for instance, let's go to Public Works. Under total capital expenses, you would be okay, like, I'm just gonna give an example. I don't even know if this is accurate. But under total capital expenses where it says 7.4 million, you'd be okay leaving that, but then under that, you just wanna put,
What the projects
list
are.
them, and no monetary value to them,
No,
just
because
list
we
them.
and the projects don't have to get
Okay.
done, but
Okay.
That's fine.
That we can,
Yeah.
That's fine.
you gotta find
It
a,
But-
explains what the category is.
Okay.
Yeah, and we don't have a problem with that piece, but I just want, the problem was, is that
Okay.
part of the conversation was, in this ordinance, We don't want you to take the control from the department heads and running their business. But to put that in there.
We're not trying
but-
to do
No,
that.
I get it.
No.
But I'm okay with this. So
We're
right now.
controlling the
we're
money.
back- So absolutely, what she's going to do then, Jennifer
list out the projects.
and Rob, we're gonna make sure, she will list the projects right under
Yeah.
that 7.4.
I mean, that's.
Does that not help?
It helps, I mean, yes,
Okay.
I'm sitting there, that's what I'm wanting, and.
But you're asking
But
for-
I'm against the city.
No,
Everybody-
I'm saying because the way.
I got it.
Okay, so Jennifer, what I was actually trying to tell you is if you try to actually allocate that this is that much money for that project, and then all of a sudden that project doesn't go through, what they were saying was, we have to come back and have to go get this thing amended again and go back to it. When we have the money to do the projects, and if we have it out there, we're gonna try to do them with the money we got allocated. We could, I've never seen it broken up like this, but if you're just gonna list those, we'll just list them.
Just need a list, we just wanna know
Okay,
what's.
so right underneath that capital projects, you just want the things.
Just want to list
How about
what they
this?
are.
Can we, but the problem is if we put a dollar amount, that does restrict us.
Well, put a dollar
She said
amount.
that they don't want a
No.
dollar
Okay,
amount.
I just
They're
wanna make sure.
fine keeping the
I just
general
wanna know
dollar
what
amount.
that 1.9 million is for.
That, the
Okay.
email I sent out on April the 4th, that's what it asked, and I have it right here. I
All right,
asked
and
for
so-
projects,
And I was copied on it.
possible hiring, equipment, and income increase. That way we wouldn't have to ask all those questions. I said, would you mind sending that to all the council? And I don't know if you all got them, but I got them from,
I got fire and police.
yeah.
But if you're,
They sent it back to us.
but that would be like,
I think Tom had something going on. I
Okay,
think
and
he
so
was-
if we
that's-
do that, then what that will do, and I think maybe this is what you're looking for, it will limit it to those projects. So if he lists project A, B, C, D, and E under that, then he can spend that 7.4 million on any of those projects in any manner. But if he now wants to do project Z, then he'll have to come back and do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
I know, I'm
Right.
just,
Okay.
I'm
Then
clarifying
Jennifer,
for
I
everybody,
apologize.
including
All right.
the public,
Yeah,
like
okay.
how that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, you just gotta find that balance, cause I remember, I don't know who told me, but we had to buy a lot of salt, I don't know if it was you or Tom, we had to buy a
Salt,
lot of
yeah.
salt when that snow hit. And if we had line item that out in the budget, we would not have had the money, and literally our roads would not have been able to get salted in time. It would have been probably a disaster. So so we just gotta be,
We don't need the price.
that's
We need the
leniency and
So
like
that's,
Tom said,
that's
it's
what I was,
unforeseen project. But if he knows he's gonna buy,
yeah, okay.
if he knows he's gonna buy 10 ATVs
Okay,
or
so we
something.
can list out,
So-
so under each of these, so
let's
under,
look that.
under admin, under public
yeah, hold on,
works,
admin is just a loan payment. That's all.
total
it is.
capital expenses is a loan payment?
It's mostly a loan payment. That's $2 million.
Well,
I
just
mean,
put.
well, we'll put it,
No, 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 total capital expenses under admin is only
Oh, I'm sorry.
$801,000, what are you talking about?
No, I'm sorry. Look at, you gotta look at, where's the, you see that?
I'm looking at this, do-do-do-do, that's what
but-
they're talking about.
Okay, okay, that's fine, but there's actually in this $4.4 million, $2 million. You got,
We're talking about capital expenses, right,
is that,
guys?
that's it, right?
Miscellaneous projects,
Okay.
capital expenses.
I don't
all
see
that
any
kind of
miscellaneous projects in this ordinance.
Okay.
I
I
see
need my wallet.
payroll,
Oh, okay.
employee, department operating expenses,
Well, 'cause it's cleaned
facilities,
up. Yeah.
contractor, fees and services, and total capital expenses.
So,
Yeah.
So under each department, you want me to put in, list all of the capital expenses? Okay,
No.
that's what they want me to do. Under this, whatever these total capital expenses are for admin, list
so
them.
do we have?
Public Works, need to list them. Fire, we need to list them. Police, we need to list them.
Let's see.
And
Yeah,
I
he's-
guess for overhead,
He's got 70,000 in
yeah. 70,000,
So chief, what is it?
778,000.
When a air conditioner goes out on us.
Yeah,
Overhead's when
That's just
I
air
don't think we
breaks.
need to do that on overhead.
Okay, so on overhead, the
That's
50,000.
It's surprise stuff like
Hey, that's
irrigation.
We
a
gotta just have money,
emergency.
we just gotta have
That's
money.
emergency
Okay.
too, when you get.
Okay.
We gotta put some,
So I don't need to do it on that one.
you can put emergencies.
On overhead.
Or you can put just emergency.
I don't know, they're
Repairs?
telling
You
me
don't,
that I
you
can
don't
just,
have to
Okay.
list emergencies,
they're telling me I
No, I'm
don't
just
need to
saying, just
list
put
that
emergency,
under.
just to.
because it's an emergency. It's-
They're telling me for under overhead
Just
for
put
capital
emergency
expenses,
fund, I
that
think's what he's
50,000, we can just leave it at as is. Is that what your recommendation is, Bonnie? Okay. So she's saying for them, I can just leave that as is, right here.
That's not
Down here.
predictable, so.
No,
Yeah,
no,
no, I
leave
don't-
as
yeah.
is.
I don't think you have to have emergency fund because it's, and you don't have to follow the 40,000 cap rule either on that because
If it
it's an
is,
emergency.
but a lot of things that
That
like,
falls under the,
but the AC, just give you an example, those are
Yeah.
just, they're going out when they go out. So it's not gonna be all at one time, but we could actually replace
And
seven.
those aren't emergencies for getting around other stuff. Those might be emergencies in this concept of, we don't wanna work in the heat for a week, but they're not true emergencies
Yeah,
that get you around.
I won't pull emergency needed unless it's really
Yeah.
an emergency. Like sewer would be something that we would actually have to make sure an emergency
Yeah.
for. The biggest part that I was misunderstanding for you guys is that you wanted itemized dollars for each of these capital projects.
No.
Okay,
Okay.
That's the part that I wanna make sure that we
So
understand
Glenn,
each
I
other.
could get hit by the bus.
Okay, so I don't have that information. We are gonna have to do a first reading of this at the next meeting. I do not have all of the, I mean,
I don't really wanna wait till the
I don't have
23rd.
it. And if we're gonna put that in there,
I'd rather have a special meeting, or if we, what, did Brenda go get it?
I don't know what she went to do.
Yeah.
All
Tom,
right, well,
you've
we'll
got
just-
yours.
Well, why don't,
I would prefer to take the time to knock it out today, because I think it's important, but again, if we need to, I can call a special meeting.
okay, well, while we're waiting
What are
for
we doing?
Brenda and all this,
I'm assuming that she went there. I don't know where she went.
do we wanna put this on hold for a second and talk about the sewer now?
We can.
We can at least talk about the sewer while Brenda's
Yeah.
doing that, and so. And so, I guess my question, Jennifer, especially mainly for you, cause you were the one that sponsored this. In the, if you scroll down,
The budget will. That's okay.
Cause there's, remember I just showed you.
yes,
Yeah. He literally breaks it down, but I didn't know it wasn't on there.
no, so scroll down to the next page, cause that's just, I think, the revenue. If you go down to, so appropriations, they don't list out their total capital expenses. Do you want the same thing for them?
I mean, yeah, cause I guess that's only fair. But I thought where was?
What did
I
show
show
to
you?
me?
What did I show you?
Yeah.
I just showed it to you.
I'm gonna put this up.
And I
there.
said, look,
This other one.
I said, cause I thought this was cause he lists his,
Okay,
like, when you look at Scott's, it has like the project, he puts dollar amounts on his, but.
right.
Like,
But see,
see,
these
like-
could, I mean, that insurance, you don't wanna put
No,
that
no,
exact amount,
that's-
that could change.
No, in that kind of stuff, I don't,
Okay.
but I mean, he does break his down very.
Okay, and so here we go, capital
Right here.
projects.
Yes, yeah, and see, like, he lists all this kind of stuff on there,
Now, this is just principal, these are loan payments.
like right here,
No, like right here.
pump replacement, number
Yeah.
one updates, small sewer projects.
So list,
See, like, small sewer projects, like,
yeah.
what is,
So
Well, I mean-
list these without the numbers, because this
Yes.
treatment plant improvement might be
yeah,
a hundred and
cause
one
his
thousand.
actually, yeah, they have like, each has a line.
When something breaks in the sewer department,
That's his,
just so you know,
that's his
it's gonna be a
capital, see,
costly
like,
thing.
'cause this is capital, his capital projects, they're all listed. Everything is listed, does that make sense?
It does, and so
And he's gonna,
I will coordinate with,
and his, you like his, you could just pretty much just list it under there.
yeah, so I will have to coordinate with Scott, because if we're gonna list those, then I wanna make sure that he really does have everything listed, and maybe we do need to, maybe under that, we'll find out, does he need to create a true, I mean, I know we can do stuff for emergencies, but do we want to create a capital, I don't know, we'll talk to Scott about that.
Okay,
Cause what we don't wanna do is have
and put it in there.
have
and
an
then
issue
do
where
what-
something
yes.
goes out and they're waiting on you all to approve, and we got sewer, running down the
Yes.
streets.
Bonnie,
Right, exactly.
I don't see why we can't have a reading tonight, cause we're not changing any numbers.
dollar amounts.
Because we are specifically going to limit it to the projects in there.
But you're not reading that on what you read tonight will not say that.
Yes, it will. I read
That's the
the actual ordinance. I do not ever read a summary,
Okay.
and you
So-
cannot
see,
read a summary of the budget.
What I was trying to do was detail it on the long report, that you saw everything, else that you would see it, that you had transparency to see the projects. That way, I thought we did, but by doing it this way, we changed the ordinance,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, so, no, I read the actual full ordinance. You can't, if you read a summary, all you can summarize is like the last 3 paragraphs about severability and all that, and
Yeah.
there's no point in doing a separate ordinance, so I read that one in full. So, where did Brenda go?
She went to go get the long report, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
We can go get her real quick. So let's do this. All right, so we still need to itemize for the sewer then as well.
Yes.
Right, and I don't know how we're gonna, do we have that? And I don't know that we wanna do a first reading without having Scott here.
No, I know.
Sewer's too important.
that, I think that, whether he's here or not, he needs to be able to have his, tell us what he wants.
Yes, because for all I know, he's got a capital project. I mean, I'm assuming they're all broken down.
So let's do this.
But I don't wanna
they're
commit
broken
him
down
to
bad,
that.
Right.
There might be something that we're missing, so I definitely don't want to tinker with that without him
No,
here.
that's fine. So what we
I
can,
can just see it now. They can't get something and we like literally have stuff
So-
running down the street.
are you guys okay with the meeting June 2nd?
Yeah.
6 o'clock, special meeting?
I'll be out of town.
Will you be
June
Zoom,
second.
are you Zoomable?
Drive me, but I can go June second, cause I
I
got
don't know,
medical
Next
procedure.
Monday.
my vacation.
If somebody drives me, I'll be able to come.
All right, we'll get you here. We're gonna find out about Mike too. So let's,
June the 2nd?
or what about June the 3rd?
No, I'll be back on the second.
You'll be back on the 2nd?
June
I'll be okay
2nd
with
is
the
fine
2nd.
with me.
Okay. All right, so we'll do June 2nd, we'll do a special meeting, and then we'll give Catherine an opportunity to list these projects under each one. Brad, you good with that?
Next Monday.
Yep. We'll get all that to you, Tom. We'll get that to you first thing in the morning. I mean, Tom LaFava, Tom Barr, we'll get that to you. Tom and Tom, I got Tom and Tom right here.
Oh, next Monday.
Yeah,
Okay, and then do the second reading on the 9th?
yeah, that way we,
Okay.
yeah, cause I mean, no, well, that,
I mean, if the second is not good, we can do it I can do it any day that
I
week.
can do it the second, that's no problem.
Brad, you're
Okay.
good with the
Maybe
second?
Faith will come pick me up. I
Faith-
can't drive that
Will you-
day.
I can, yeah.
All right,
You
you're
won't
good,
be
Rob,
here,
right?
will
Yeah,
you?
she'll be here
I'll
for
be
that.
here.
No, she's here.
Yeah,
All
she
Oh,
said she'd
okay.
be back.
Okay.
right, so what she's gonna do is list, just make sure we're all on the same page, but she's gonna list underneath each of these capital projects, she's gonna list the projects, okay? And if something changes on those projects, we'll come back to you and go, hey, this one changed, we'll bring this one in,
Right.
okay? Now, I don't, honestly, I don't
Unless something
foresee,
goes crazy, I don't see it changing.
I don't think that's exactly what I was getting ready to say, is that I don't think that with what we've allocated for, now, we will have some things, just one thing, unless it goes over 40, we will have some park plans, because I made a point today of putting some of that out there, because we've been able to, thank you. This is the new one, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to look through it, but we'll hold off for a minute.
That's a budget long report.
Okay, for each one? Oh, that's just the sewer, right? Is it both of them? Oh, I'll check it. Oh, but it's not broken in there, it's not broken down by departments. I got it, I'll deal with it later. We're gonna have a special meeting on the 2nd at 6 o'clock, and what Catherine's gonna do is she's gonna list the capital expenditures, or capital, no,
Are they gonna send
Project.
it to her before then?
what's that?
They will send it.
Oh, well, yeah, I know we've got Chief,
I'll be sending out
Both
an
of you
email
guys-
tomorrow telling
you've
them
got,
that
you
I
guys
need
have
to-
given, okay, we'll make sure that Catherine has that as well on it, because like I said, Chief, you got $70,000, Craig, is that right on that? Look at it,
Which chief, he said.
I mean, I'm sorry, Chief,
Yeah, there's two.
let's go back and look at that again.
So fire under capital expenses, no, he's got
I'm sorry,
770,000.
it's the-
It's, police.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Steve.
You've got 70,000 listed under capital expenses.
Yes, it's under IT projects.
Okay.
And what that consists of is basically computers with the Windows 11, thanks to Microsoft. And then some of it has to do with the in-car camera piece that we're bringing. It's why that line item is a capital project, I don't know, it doesn't have to be.
So let's do this,
So basically, it's a line item we use for anything IT related throughout the year with regards to computers, network infrastructure, any of that stuff.
Yeah, so let's do this. You send that in the email tomorrow to her. Jody, would you send her an itemized list of your expenses?
Your
And-
capital.
I mean, capital expenses.
I'm gonna send them an email
Yep,
tomorrow.
and then.
I'll
we'll-
send them
we'll
an
look at
email
what you've
reminding
got.
them.
I forgot, I'm trying to think of what we.
Because what they'll need to know is if you
I
don't
think it's your
include,
interest.
if you don't include a capital expense in this budget ordinance now, you will have to come back to do that project, because it's not gonna be the cost, it's gonna be the actual project. So if you have, like, project that A, B, and C that you know you wanna do, and you don't list project F, then if you wanna do project F, you gotta come back and we gotta amend that budget ordinance.
So I do have one thing for each of you. So Tom's budget has money allocated for roads and sidewalks. We don't know which ones they are yet. We're trying to do a triage and we're trying to figure it out. So we're gonna break down the ones you can't, and then on the one, the extra money that's in there, the 1.2 that's in that, Tom, you're just gonna you just got to put sidewalks, and just so you guys see. So as long as you see what it is, sidewalks and road repairs.
Yeah, I think you can be
Okay,
that
Tom?
general. I don't
That
think they
way,
wanna.
that way they have a detail of at least what that money's allocated for. So you got yours, Jody's got his, Steve's got his, we'll get, and then we'll get, sewer. So it's really sewer, we'll wait for Scott to get back, and then we'll get
Yeah,
that.
cause
But I'll have,
When does he get back?
He broke his down. He broke it down, but like she said,
We need to let him
we
back.
need
Yeah.
to let him tell,
When-
like, put it in there.
he may not be back before the second, but I need,
I
I'll find out.
Yeah, because otherwise it does no good
He's
to have.
always available by his phone, is what he told me.
I'll be calling him.
He always
I'll be calling him.
answers.
No,
Yes,
it's,
he
yeah,
does.
so we'll get him, but we'll have everybody tomorrow, we'll have all that, and then we'll get, but what we're gonna do is, we're gonna, as she gets it, she's gonna send it out to you to look over, just so you see it. But
Yeah.
that's, so that you'll see it, and then it's gonna be, when she does this, she'll just send it out to you guys, look it over. Will you please do me a favor?
Questions, call
Yeah,
in.
yeah, well, do me a favor, if it's the way you want it, respond back to her and say,
Yeah.
that's what we want.
To her only, not the whole group.
Thank you.
Right.
But yeah, just, yeah, make sure. But if you guys are happy, again, I realize we had a little situation, but I just want you all to know that I'm very passionate about everything we're doing, but I'm trying to be very transparent about what we do in the city. I wanna make sure we're very excited about what we're doing, but we don't wanna leave you guys out of anything we're doing. When things like this happened with the skate park, it was because it was taken out because of the cost of the aquatic center. We wanted to bring it back into play because we actually, things turned with the tourism. Tourism decided to buy that building up front, which is the money we had to spend for it, right? So unfortunately for that, and fortunately for us, we got to use that money for that, Rob. That's what that's about. I don't need you guys, I wanna make sure that it's understood. We'll give you any information you need about what money we're spending. And I think that was the message that I heard, it's like, wait a minute, but I get it. We'll just make sure these are itemized on there, and we'll be in good shape, okay? So thank you for your input,
Okay,
all right?
so,
6 o'clock meeting, right?
6 o'clock.
On the second.
Yep, on the second.
all right, so let's go back. I haven't done the first reading of the ordinance adopting the collective bargaining. So let's do that before we forget.
Yep, let's get that done.
All right, City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, ordinance 025009, an ordinance approving the tentative collective bargaining agreement for the Shepherdsville Police Department personnel within the city limits of the City of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky, sponsored by Councilmember Faith Portman. Summary. Section 1 sets forth that the City Council has been presented with a tentative collective bargaining agreement, hereinafter CBA, for the Shepherdsville Police Department personnel. Section 2 sets forth that the City of Shepherdsville and Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 80 desire to enter into a 3-year CBA regarding the terms of employment for the Shepherdsville Police Department personnel with a term beginning on July 1st, 2025 and ending on July 1st, 2028. Section 3 sets forth that the CBA attached as Exhibit A to the ordinance is approved. Section 4 sets forth that the CBA shall become a binding contract upon passage and publication of the summary. Section 5 sets forth a severability clause. Section 6 sets forth the repeal of prior ordinances in conflict with this ordinance. Section 7 sets forth the publication requirement. Josh, is that ending date of July 1st, 2028 correct? Okay, I just want to confirm, because usually it's June 30th and then we start over, so, okay, that's fine. Okay,
So when will we have the second reading on that?
that will be at the June 9th meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
so I
all
think
we're
the
gonna
June second special will literally just be
To
the
read-
general budget and the sewer budget,
Yep, just read those for the first reading, and then June 9th, we'll finish that up.
Okay,
if that's
Is that
okay.
good?
I don't know, we need to do it on the second.
yeah, I don't think so. I don't know.
Well. I do wanna make sure, obviously, we're trying to finish up with the collective bargaining for the fire department. And what we would like to do, if we could, we're gonna make sure it's itemized that has those 2 readings, if we can. We'll put the fire on that as well for
On
that
June 9th?
June 2nd to have.
Oh, I don't know that it'll be ready for the June
Okay,
second.
then, all right, so
Because
that'll
I
be
told the
June,
attorney it'd be June 9th.
all right, so June 9th and then 23rd for that one, just to give you guys an idea, that's when that's,
9th and the 20th.
yeah, for the
That's
collective
the,
bargaining for
that's the
fire.
go, and we really are waiting on the fire department's, well, their, no, their attorney,
Yeah, they got,
yeah,
they're having some.
the union's attorney, I couldn't think of the word union.
Peter.
Their attorney, because there was, just quite a few issues that need to be more, it doesn't really affect the city, but it does affect the actual contract, so they just need to clean that up a little bit. So, I will be reaching out to him this week and following up with him. We kind of realized that last week, so. As soon as I get the correct version, I will send it to you guys.
All right,
Alright,
so
we're
on
gonna
this
move
agenda,
on.
yep. So we're not doing the general and sewer right now. On the ordinance for the, personal pay rate.
Yep, all right, so Here you go, Jennifer. This is now what you'll need. The pay rate. I put it up there for you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You just had a lot of papers. I was like, we're gonna get all
oh, that's a different place.
lost. So that pay scale should be in that.
Okay.
And so when you're comparing, if there's a mistake, it's on that piece of paper, not this. All right, so, I worked quite a bit with Brad. There was quite a few, changes made in talking, you know, with him. And so I guess, you know, we've got the authorized staffing level. That includes what they can do, not necessarily what it currently is, in terms of, like, some of these might not be filled, but they can fill them. If it's a 0, then that means that they can't hire anyone for that position. It's put in there right now because, and mostly this affects the Public Works, because when this was kind of set up, the mayor said, look 3 years out. So the Public Works anticipates that these positions may be created, or he may ask the council, well, he's asking the council now to at least create these. But to hire anyone, he would have to come back and get authority. Do what, Bonnie?
I just laughed because I clicked on one of these documents on here, Diligent Community, it says I don't have permission.
Oh, sorry.
We forgot to tell you, Bonnie. We forgot to tell you.
Which one are you trying to click on?
The ordinance repeal, 019.
Oh, yeah, the one that was, that's original.
Oh, just the one, Bonnie, all that states is that we're repealing the ordinance.
Oh, I don't have permission either.
I don't either.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Well, I forgot to tell you guys.
Yes.
All right.
Forget the transparency piece.
We can't open,
Hey, so,
Diligent now.
documents and Diligent doesn't like us.
Huh,
Is it
okay.
not letting you either?
No.
Well,
Sorry,
Jennifer,
Bob.
you can look at,
See what
what do we
happens.
want to look at? Let me
Oh,
see
no,
if
I
I can
got it.
open
I
it.
got it right here.
Okay.
I just always click on it on here.
Oh,
We can
okay.
click- Yeah. I just always click on it on the Diligent too.
Hey, it might tell me I don't have permission.
You don't have permission either?
I don't know. I've tried to click on it. It's not doing anything.
I don't either.
See, I'm not alone, I'm not special.
I was gonna pull
Well.
up the,
Well, you are special.
I was trying to pull up, 12 is what I was trying to pull up. The next one.
You know what, Brenda? Let me tell you something. When you look over here at the side, Brenda, look. When you look over here at the side,
Yeah,
you see how there's like this separate thing for these ordinances?
Yeah.
There's not for 12 and 13.
and
Yeah.
it was doing something weird in there when I was adding it.
Oh, okay.
It was
So-
doing something, so I think it might be our internet.
So does everybody at least have,
I got 13. I don't have 12.
Okay.
That's it.
12 just says that the current one is repealed. Literally, like, I can pass
Yeah.
my iPad, but that's what it says, so.
Okay, yes. Well, I mean, you're gonna read it, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll read the summary, which is pretty much,
Right, yes.
the first paragraph's the same.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I mean, I can read that, and we can go ahead and read 12 if you want, and then go to 13 and
Yeah,
discuss?
if you wanna
Okay.
read 12 first.
Because I'm assuming you guys are gonna wanna discuss
Yeah.
13, so Brad and I figured that. Okay, so I'm gonna read the summary for 12. City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, ordinance 025012, an ordinance repealing ordinance 019. Actually, I do not have a sponsor for this.
Well, it says there is.
No, not for 12.
Wrong one I opened, never mind.
I don't have a sponsor. Does anyone want to sponsor the repeal one? All right, thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay. So let's start over. City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, ordinance 025012, an ordinance repealing ordinance 019283 of the City of Shepherdsville related to personnel and pay rate classification plan for city employees and non-elected city officers for the City of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky, sponsored by Councilmember Brad Whitaker. Summary, Section 1, sets forth that ordinance 019283, passed on February 11th, 2019, is repealed in its entirety. Section 2 sets forth the severability clause. Section 3 sets forth the repeal of prior ordinances in conflict with this ordinance. Section 4 sets forth the publication requirement. All right, so moving on to 025013. So, as I was kind of talking, in this set, so when you see the authorized staffing level in these sections, that means that, so like right now, to give you an instance, we've got so accounting clerk, authorized staffing level is 1 full-time. If they want to hire a second one, whether that's part-time or full-time, then they will have to come to the council and say, we would like to hire a second accounting clerk. And that is why you see office clerk as being 2 full-time or 1 full-time and 2 part-time, because they would like that flexibility now to do that. The pay rates, especially the maximum, again, part of that, why those numbers may have increased quite a bit is because, again, they were asked to look 3 years ahead. Doesn't mean that that has to be the way it is, but just for explanation of the history of how we got these numbers. I think, so that's kind of my, I guess my spiel on that. Brad, do you want to add anything? I know, because you and I worked a lot on
Yeah.
these numbers and figuring out, at least with respect to the staffing level.
Right, so basically the authorized staffing level that we put in there is what is current and additionally what's authorized or what we potentially will budget for.
Yeah,
next
so
year.
the way it
Yeah, I
reads
think
is
that-
authorized staffing level refers to the number of employees allowed for each specified position, whether the position is currently staffed with the staffing level authorized herein.
Right.
So if you've got somebody, I don't know if we've really got,
Like the computer system specialist, what did we figure out on that?
They do not go in, they are not excluded from the civil service, they have to be part of it.
well, my question is, do we even have that now, or do we have an independent contractor?
We don't-
Okay,
we
then
don't
they
have
need to be taken out of the document.
So we could remove them entirely if you do not want to create that position. Because right now, as it is, if you're saying, okay, we don't need a computer specialist because we've got whatever, then we could cross that out. Because otherwise, I mean, now it still has, now let me explain something to you. While they can do it per this ordinance, they could go out and hire a computer system specialist per this, it still has to, be in compliance with the budget. So if it would cause them to go over the payroll, they still could not do that.
Yeah.
The two have to work
We'd have to
together.
go to you guys.
Now, if it wouldn't cause them, so let's say, we got rid of, I don't know who we could get rid of, I'm just gonna throw out somebody. We got rid of, the assistant finance director, and we're not gonna fill that, we're gonna fill a computer specialist, and it's not gonna cause us to go over our budget, payroll budget, then they could do that. So you gotta be, so if you don't want them, if you don't feel like you need the computer specialist, we'll mark that out. Is that what you would like to do?
I was just wondering if we ever determined who is computer.
Louisville Geek does it, we
Yeah,
don't
it's,
have an
we're
employee.
contracted. We don't have employees.
So I
You
think
could
that
take it
that
out.
one, we
You
could
take
just
it
take that out, and then that at least answers the question on,
It takes out number 6 also,
number 6.
major fire marshal.
Oh, well, we got, yeah, I guess we need to talk about that, but can we do that as we scroll down?
Sure,
Just, I wanna talk in sections.
okay. I have a lot to talk about.
I know.
Mine won't be over sections,
It won't be over sections?
no,
Okay,
mine's the whole document.
okay. Well, do we see anything as of right now in terms of at least the positions and the authorized staffing levels?
Section 2,
Yes, ma'am.
office clerk assistant, starting at $16 an hour. We don't start anybody
Oh, that's
below
it. That must be-
1803.
That's just an oversight on our part. To be
Yeah,
honest
that's
with you,
what
it's
it
18 is our
was.
entry.
Okay, so yeah, I'll change that. I thought that was a little odd. I thought maybe it was because it was a part-time. Okay.
Oh, it's a 0.
Yeah, I got it.
So we would have
What?
I was just thinking the office clerk and the office clerk's assistants could start at the same pay rate. That just seems simple. Like I would think that the office clerk would start higher.
Well, it
Does that
depends
make
on,
sense?
but yeah, but it also matters to their experience level. We may start somebody out more than that. That just means we can't start them out lower than that. So
Okay.
let's say you came in and you're more qualified than Rob, then the idea is that, hey, we're gonna pay you more to take that job. So at least it just blocks you from doing that real low, cause I know when we were talking about Faith, remember when you first, 13, the old 13, man, that was crazy. But at least at this point, that's just a minimum.
Okay.
That's all that is on that for you. Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're gonna start at that, but again, it may be where their qualifications are.
Okay.
Are we, of the athletics coordinator?
Yeah.
Are we that far
But
yet?
and so part of that, and Sam and Tom, you guys wanna kind of just chime in on that position?
And I
Because-
apologize, Samantha did send on Friday, job descriptions, and between this and dealing with Jonathan Cooper and going to court this morning, that did not get sent to you, so I will send those, because I did ask them to put those together, even though the authorized staffing level was 0, that way you would at least know, so it is my fault that you guys did not get those, they were sent to me.
And part of that.
So I will take the
Okay,
blame for
do you
that.
guys wanna just, I know what you're gonna say, but go ahead, one of you guys, I know why you did it, but would you like to explain that to the
Which
council?
part are we talking about?
Just the idea, we added
He asked about the
positions.
athletics coordinator, so if you could talk about why that was added and what they'd be doing generally. Will you come up here and press
Yeah,
the
yeah.
green, because I think you might be up here for a few seconds.
And then I guess while you're up here, Parks Worker 1 and 2.
Yeah, basically the new positions, please. And again, I'm sorry, Sam, that I did not forward that email.
Oh, thank you.
So, the athletic director, I'm thinking 3 years down the road, right? We all want leagues for our kiddos back in Shepherdsville. This is gonna be the person who coordinates that. They're gonna be working with the schools, they're gonna be working with local nonprofits, but that is gonna be the point person for athletics for our youth. Ideally, we would have adult leagues, maybe that's 5 years down the road, but Park Worker 1 and 2, basically, we kind of mirrored the Public Works, their levels. Right now, the Parks Department, I'm pulling people from Tom. And, you know, they are awesome in the park, but they also have 800 other projects going on and, yeah, responsibilities. So we're thinking it would be nice to actually have designated folks who work in the park.
And so would they help with like the food truck invasion
They could.
and stuff like that? Is that like
Events
maybe?
in the park, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But part of that too is, so it's in the growth, I think we've talked a little bit about the police and fire that we're adding 2 in each of the staffing, but we're also gonna add at least 1, so in next year's budget, the 27 budget is gonna include 2 more people, but they're interchangeable, because what the Public Works and the Parks Rec do, they do together, and you throw Amber in there, because of all the different events that go on, so those 3 have to work together, but we are going to establish in the next budget, a Parks Rec department. We were just gonna try to get through this budget, but the next budget we offer you guys, we'll actually have, it'll be Sam and 2 people. That way, those 2 people can be part of, Public Works person might come over here, and then we might hire somebody else from Public Works. But it'll be his department plus 3 more in the next year's budget. So you're gonna see the staffing levels go, so that looks at where that payroll is gonna be for us. And that, again, that's part of the growth, we know that the revenue is coming in, and we're surpassing already our occupational tax right now for this year. So we know what the growth is there coming for us, but, and what they wanted to do was, let's say kind of in the budget of this year, that we see the revenue goes, but we see that we need to start it early. Like, oh my gosh, we need another Parks Rec on, we need to get that person, and they don't wanna have to go through, different meetings and get job descriptions, and they wanted to get it started now, so that if it does come up that we need it, that we're prepared to go right to it. Because again, we're gonna go into this, we're kinda watching, June's gonna be here before you know it next year. And the aquatic center's gonna, we have other things that's gonna be ready to open up before that. So, we've got a number of things, next year's gonna be really pretty crazy with everything that's gonna be opening up, so we wanna make sure at least we're staffing, get ready for what's gonna happen with Parks Rec. And so we're getting there by putting these positions, so that's the reason why they took a proactive approach to it, is that about right?
Yes, sir, yes.
Do you plan on those being part or full-time?
For which?
Any of them. I figured the coordinator would be a full-time to pay.
Yes, yeah.
The other 2,
Honestly,
park
all
worker?
of them, I ideally would like them
Okay.
full-time.
Okay.
And so remember, again, that looks at how we do our expenses, how we're gonna do that. And we talked a little bit about our rates and stuff like that. The rates have to be in each department and how they handle the increases, as well as staffing inclusions. So that's gonna be a little challenging for us, but I do think the revenue piece is gonna be there for us. Okay? Now, does that help you guys? Does that help a little bit? Just a proactive approach towards job descriptions for everybody here, just to give you guys kind of a heads up on that. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
All right. No, all right, so we've got, go ahead, keep doing what you're doing, I'm sorry.
No, we were just going down. Are there, so in section 5, if you look at section 5A and B regarding the assistant chief positions. So Brad and I had a long conversation today about how we do this because so they get paid, if you notice, the assistant chief versus the assistant chief advanced versus the assistant chief paramedic, they have different starting pays and maximum pays. So you couldn't lump them necessarily all together, but Brad's point, and so you'll see that they're not, but then in B, you'll see the authorized staffing level says see section 5B, and that reads, the fire department is authorized to have a maximum of 3 full-time first assistant chief positions, regardless of medical certification. Because Brad's point was like, I don't care if all the assistant chiefs are at the paramedic level. Like that's.
I'm correct in saying that, right, Jody? Like, as long as there's 3 of them, it doesn't really matter if they're paramedic, EMT, whatever, right? Okay.
So it just gives the flex. So we wanted to clarify that gives the flexibility to the police. If he's got 3 just regular assistant chiefs or 3 advanced or 2 advanced and 1 paramedic, he can kind of, however that fits. But there's obviously the authorized staffing level is still 3. And so I wanted to kind of point that out because we probably spent, 20 minutes 30 minutes probably trying to figure out how to word that to where it was clear. And
I think it was longer than 30.
Your 30 minutes is her 30 minutes.
So, well, the whole conversation was a lot longer, but that portion. So I wanted to point that out, and as you know, as we've already discussed, we've pulled out the pay for the major and the lieutenants in the police department, and listed them in here.
Catherine?
Yes.
On the, going back to the fire department.
Yes, sir.
Under C.
Yes, sir.
The firefighter position should be 26, right?
Yes, thank you. It should be 26.
Yeah.
That was
16 is not-
that was probably a typo.
Yeah.
So the authorized staffing levels that we currently have, Chief, and this is set through the collective bargaining, but this is what we've calculated is 12 full-time sergeants, 3 full-time captains, and 26 full-time firefighters. That's all right. And then as you notice, you've got the part-time firefighters up at the top as well because they're not included in the collective bargaining. Their staffing level kind of is because we agree in the collective bargaining with 6, but their pay is not there. And as you can see, their pay is set. It's $16.77 an hour, period, minimum and maximum. Okay, and so moving on to longevity pay, you know, we state that the police and the fire are their own, that's handled in their collective bargaining. We've got the 2% for longevity for the admin, public works, and wastewater treatment plant. So the way it was written in the original is that the amount of longevity pay is based on the 2% and shall be calculated solely on the employee's base pay rate. I have always interpreted that to mean that longevity pay, while it is their pay, and that's what you would calculate for overtime and everything else, their base pay rate, so if I get hired in at $50,000 and then I get a longevity pay of 2% that equals $1,000, I don't know if that's what it equals, we're going round numbers. Then in another 2 years, when I get my longevity pay, it's still going to be based on the $50,000, not on the $51,000. Am I correct? Is that? Yeah. Okay. And that I would take it to mean also that any pay raise I get, like a true pay raise, like here's your 5%, that is based on my base pay. Or do you all base that on the total?
No, it's on the base pay.
That's what I thought. That's how I
Because
interpret
if you-
this.
If you based it, if you kept adding and adding, we would get way outside
That's
our
what
scale
I'm saying.
very quickly.
So here, and then, so now so then my next question is, my understanding has always been that the longevity pay and your pay rates are separate in one concept. And so let's say I'm at my maximum pay rate. I'm truly at the maximum base pay of $35 an hour. But I'm up for my longevity pay in a month. as far as I'm concerned, I still get that longevity pay because that longevity pay does not affect
No.
and it does not affect the pay rate, and the pay rate does not affect my longevity pay with respect to being entitled to it. Have I understood all that? Because there's
I'm
been some
gonna
confusion, and
yeah,
I'm telling you.
I think you better double check, we're gonna make the double check it. You cannot, I just wanna make sure, you have a pay rate that you get, okay, you get your pay. And I'm gonna make sure tomorrow that if I make X amount, I get whatever percentage or whatever they give me on a weekly or bi-weekly pay to give me more money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't judge it on what I started. They don't do that.
Who's they?
The private sector and the government, I don't think you can do that. Am I right, Tom? I mean, you don't do it based on what you made. I mean, that'd be 10 years down the road and you're making still 50,000. I'm gonna still give you a raise on a 50,000. That probably won't even make
Well,
it.
no, ideally, you're supposed to get regular raises too.
But I'm talking about, you were mentioning you're talking about the raises, not just are you talking about just the longevity?
I was talking about the longevity. Now, if I
Just-
get a true
okay,
raise of,
okay.
like, let's say I make 50,000, I
Okay,
get a
I'm
true
gonna make
raise
sure we're on
of
the same page.
55,000.
I'm-
Now my longevity pay after that is based on 55,000.
Correct.
Right.
But if I'm making 55,000 and 5,000 of that's already longevity, my new longevity is based on the 50, not the
Yeah,
55.
just as long as we're talking about longevity. I just wanna make sure, because
Longevity only.
it was also said that you were talking about going out of our pay rates, and I thought you were saying base pay for your rates here.
Because what's happened,
Did you
Jose,
get-
what's happened is nobody has kept up with these
Oh, longevity
longevity, and
pages.
they just say, "Oh my gosh, somebody's over their max pay," and they're really not,
Mm-hmm.
because they've incorporated it all as one. Which also means that sometimes we're given a longevity pay increase based on the total of what they're making and not based on the base
No,
pay.
I get it. On
Which
the
is causing.
the
So-
longevity piece is fine. As
so
long
we
as we're
have
making sure we're
got
not
to
talking about their actual
start-
rate and it's changing.
So
All right,
we have
For
got.
longevity.
So we
Let's
have
make sure we're all
got,
saying longevity.
and that's why I now say in here, you know, I make it sure that I say minimum base pay rate,
On your rates.
base, and then I say that longevity is calculated on your base pay. So
That's right.
what we've got to start doing, starting, I don't know, as soon as possible, is we've got to start figuring out what are people's true base pay, what is their longevity pay, and somebody's got to keep up with that for every department.
Butch and Darren.
Poor Butch. You gotta have paper
I'm sorry?
to do that.
When major lieutenants are going to the job classification, it's not a factor though.
That is correct.
And along with the officers and contractual with longevity and pay scale, none of this would be a factor to us except for the chief and the assistant chief position.
Correct. Yeah, so this,
Same for the fire department.
yeah, this 2% only affects the admin, the public works, and the wastewater departments. So they've got their own, because what they do is they just say, okay, here's what I make now, and in 2 years, here's what I'm gonna make, and then in 4 years, here's what I'm gonna make, and then in so on.
These are not large numbers on each of these departments, right? So we're basically talking about 27 people, somewhere like that. So it's not a great deal.
No, but I do
I was
think,
just doing that because Butch does all the work.
I think that will also help the numbers be more accurate. And so, you know, for instance, you know, when I came to you guys and said, hey, I've been told that Gala is over, I hate to use her name, but anyway, when a certain employee was over their maximum pay, I'm not now 100% sure that they were. Because I don't know that her longevity pay, and she would have had quite a bit, and I don't know how for everybody else it started in 2019, so we're not that far behind, right, Brenda? For these departments, this started in 2019, so it's not like we've been doing this for 20 years, and oh my gosh. So, but I'm just saying, I don't know that she really would have been, because if we had just given her longevity pay 2 or 3 times, and we didn't separate that out, it would have looked skewed.
Okay.
So I want to make sure,
We'll
so
go on
that's how that reads, and I want to make sure that that's how you guys wanted that to read. And part-time and seasonal are still not eligible to receive longevity pay.
Yep.
Okay, so now going to classified service. We're going to get rid of computer specialist. Bonnie believes that we have been told, and I say this and I'm not doubting her, I'm just like, I was not here for any of it, that the major fire marshal cannot be excluded from classified civil service. So before we get into that discussion, because maybe this will be not relevant, let's assume that you all could exclude it from civil service. Do you guys want to, or would you all want to include it in civil service? Because if you all want to include it in civil service, then it's included and it's a non-issue anyway. if you're thinking you would want it excluded, then we need to like go further into that issue.
Are you talking about any
According to the
future?
I'm talking about the fire
KRSs,
marshal.
Current, the
According to the
current one.
KRSs, 95, I don't know the exact numbers.
It's 98 something, and I can send that.
Okay, he can send it to you. It's only a chief and the assistant chief can be excluded from the civil service,
Right.
according to the statutes for the fire department. So regardless of what civil service says, we have to go by what their KRS says.
Oh, was that different than the one we were looking at earlier, Bonnie?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers, so
I was just wondering, because if they said we don't care what the statute says, we want them included in civil service anyway, then we don't even have to go down the trail of getting that ordinance or statute. I
Well, we
mean,
went through all this for a year. Like I said, he can tell you the history. It was a battle because we wanted to exclude all department heads from civil service. KLC said that we could not do that, and KLC says we can't exclude the fire marshal either.
Yeah, because they had no recourse. An employee would not have any recourse. That's why,
Right.
you couldn't do that.
So.
The KR statute
So
protect.
police and fire are the only one, positions in the whole city for chief and assistant chief that are excluded. No one else.
You're lucky. For cats.
That came from KLC.
Yeah, because they're appointed. I mean,
They're appointed.
yep, that's it, because they don't have those same luxuries as every other employee. But you gotta have protection for the employees in the workplace. And right now ours is
And
civil
that's to
service.
give the mayor the right to bring in those four people in that he wants to run his fire and police with.
So are we saying that
So-
they're not in, I'm just making sure.
well, I don't know the statute, and before we go down that road, if they want them to be included,
Just
then we don't even
include 'em.
have to go down
Just-
that road.
Just include 'em.
If you all want the fire marshal included, regardless of whether they can be or
I'm
not.
gonna follow what KLC said and the KRS says.
Well, I get it,
for
but,
fire.
so you think that they have to be included? My question to them is, do they want them included? Because if so, then we don't even have to research
Yeah,
it.
we just
Yes, he
just
should be
include 'em.
included.
We don't even have to research it, is what I'm saying. We don't have to get Darren to send anything. If they want them included anyway into civil service,
Well, that's fine.
we're moving on.
Yes.
Do you all want them? I mean,
But they are appointed.
no, they're not appointed.
No.
Not the
So
deputy, not
This
the
is
deputy
the-
fire marshal.
Okay.
this is the
not-
fire marshal.
Major
Oh,
fire
okay, well then,
Yeah, major fire marshal.
Major.
As long as you guys want to do it,
They should be included.
Okay.
Yeah, they should.
So like, boom, we're gonna take that out of excluded. Darren, you don't need to send me anything. They want him included anyway, so we don't even have to figure out if he can be excluded.
What do you think, Brad? Do you think he should be?
It really doesn't matter to me either way. I just want to comply with the law. So, I mean, if the KRS says he has to be included, then obviously we have to include him.
Follow the law.
I mean, our current fire marshal was hired in as a fire marshal though, right? Yeah, so if, yeah. So- Yeah, it's been several years ago. So if for some reason he was removed from that position, well, I don't see that happening, but theoretically, if it happened though, like, what would that look like? I think that's where the quandary comes into play, right? So, because he didn't like actually progress through the ranks, he was just hired in at that position, but, yeah, I mean, we can include him, it's not a big deal.
I think he's always been in there.
No, the reason I excluded him in this one is because he's excluded in 283.
I was gonna say, but hasn't he always been part of the civil service
No.
since he's been in?
No.
Well, I don't
this
know.
just said
I don't know. I know
19,283, he wasn't.
19283. It said he was excluded. Now, if he was previously included and it's the same person, then yeah, he would be grandfathered in, even without the other things. So
Yeah.
I do
And
not
part of
know.
the problem with 283, when all that was being worked on and it kept going back and forth, things got changed in there that weren't marked as changed or weren't told was changed, and that probably was one of them. There was confusion over who was certified and who was classified and all that, and
That
it
had all
just-
that testing
Brenda can
certifications.
tell you,
Oh,
it was a nightmare mess, and that is probably why that slipped through like that. I'm ready for.
And
are
see,
we
and
done?
that's Exhibit A as to why when you do amend, you have to mark stuff out and underline stuff,
Right.
so that way
And
you
it
know
didn't
exactly.
get marked out.
Yeah. So.
Honestly, I think some of that confusion happened over the discussion over who was exempt and non-exempt, and then who's included and not excluded.
Maybe so.
Like, I think those two conversations got kinda.
Conflated?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. Okay, yes, Bonnie, so now we're ready for the overview. Since we at least worked out those kinks,
Okay.
we're ready for the overview.
Okay, I'm reading from the Kentucky Municipal Statutory Law Book, on this personnel pay and classification plan. It's got quite a bit in it. I sent it to all the council members. It says, the compensation of all city employees must be fixed by the legislative body in accordance with personnel pay and classification plan, which shall be adopted by ordinance. Personal pay and classification plan is 2 documents, a position classification plan and a pay plan. So we had it wrong. We had it on one thing. According to this, it's supposed to be in 2 documents, but it says which shall be adopted by ordinance. The purpose behind the requirement for such plans is to ensure the equitable treatment of city employees, to ensure, for example, all employees are paid equitably according to the nature of the work they perform instead of according to non-job related standards such as whom they know or how generous their immediate supervisor is. I'm going to skip some of this, one down here at the bottom. Once the classification of positions has been completed, the pay plan may be prepared. The classification plan is necessary prerequisite to the pay plan because a sound pay plan provides equal pay for equal work and the same pay for comparable jobs. And to achieve these objectives require a large body of job information that can best be obtained from a classification plan. And then over on my last page, the plan serves as a significant check on the executive's unilateral appointment powers over employees because the executive must adhere to the terms of the plan with regard to the qualifications and numbers of positions filled and the compensation paid. Now, I know I'm not a lawyer, but everything I read right here says shall be adopted by ordinance, 2 documents, a position classification plan and a pay plan, and it tells what we're supposed to do within those. So to me, we need to split this document in half that we had, do it correctly, and promote both of them. I agree. I do too.
I don't know, I don't see where you have to do it. I don't know, did that cite anything? Because the ordinance that talks about creating the pay plan says the legislative body of each city shall fix the compensation of city employees and non-elected city officers in accordance with a personnel and pay classification plan, which shall be adopted. Now, I don't think there's anything against doing 2 ordinance, so I guess you could do, like, one ordinance, you could do the position and the authorized staffing level, and then the other ordinance with the position and the pay rates. Is that what you're thinking, Bonnie?
It says here that in this classification thing, that it says the title, which is a brief designation identifying the nature of work clearly and separating the class from other classes, a definition of the kind or nature of work function found in the class, distinguishing characteristics of the class, brief examples of individual tasks or group tasks performed within the class. Fourth, existing employees are allocated by the class. The personal classification plan typically covers only the regular employee of the city and not elected officers, positions filled by contractor members of appointed boards and commission.
So I
There's
think,
a lot more information.
I think
in this.
when they talk about classification, one thing that they're talking about is, you know, if you go to the federal level, there's like G1, G2, G3, and they all have whatever. There are some bigger cities that do that.
No, I'm sure they do, but
And
it's telling us that we need.
So that's what they say when they're talking about grouping into classes. We don't even have classes. We'd
No,
have
we
to.
don't have to do that, but it says there needs to be a personal pay and a classification plan, 2 documents by ordinance.
Well, the classification would just be their job titles, unless you all want to start creating classes.
It doesn't
No,
necessarily,
what I'm looking at is what we already have has the job description and the requirements. It doesn't have to be lengthy and long, it's just a base thing. But what it's saying in there is when we require them to actually have an education, to have a job that requires an education, that's what's being held and being held accountable for. We're not looking to control everything, and that's what it's being put off as, and it's not that. And you're saying that we don't have the right to say that I want a good employee in here.
Nobody said that.
You know,
No,
we want
yeah, nobody's saying
qualified
that.
people in here, and in order to get that, we need specifications that say you have to, in other words, if you're gonna be the finance director, you need to have accounting, degree, you know, and things like education. And that's been the problems before, is we've had people put in positions that had absolutely no education, and it screwed things up here really, really bad. That's why we went broke in 2011, because the wrong person was put in a position that they didn't know, wasn't their fault. They didn't know what they were doing, but they were put in a position they shouldn't. And that's what caused us to go broke, because they put the wrong numbers in the wrong columns, and it messed everything up, and we had a hard time coming back from that. So that's why when they asked us to do this plan, we're like, great, we're gonna stop that from happening. We're not gonna have people come in here and say what they did to, I just named names, Tammy was the city clerk. Maxine Jeffries was the treasurer. They took and moved Tammy down to office clerk at the front window. They moved Maxine up to city clerk, and they moved Gayla up to what was called treasurer then. Gayla had no experience, it wasn't her fault. I don't want to ever see that happen again, never. And that is the whole purpose. This isn't to control anybody, this isn't trying to take over everything. This is to protect our citizens and their money. And that's what we're about, the money. And so, there's not really anything that says that we can't do that, other than she thinks that we can't do that, and I disagree.
Well, I think you can prepare, and I even said that at the last meeting, that I think a brief job description, kind of like, okay, here's what these people do, you know, is appropriate. But there's another whole statute that says for non-elected officers, fire chief, police chief, city clerk, that the legislature does set forth the job duties of those positions.
Right.
So if you've got a statute that says you do set forth the job duties of those people, but then you've got a statute that says for employees, you set forth the pay compensation plan, and it doesn't mention job duties, then the leaving that out of job duties, but putting it in here tells me you don't do it there. That's how I've interpreted, that's all I'm saying. You all saw the email that Morgan, and I'm assuming Megan was agreeable to, because she was on the email and she didn't, I'm assuming that she was agreeable. That going into the detail that we did in that ordinance, which I sent them, I have no idea if they looked at it, but I did send them that. Going in to that detail was not consistent with the statutory nature of this plan, this mayor-council plan. Now, you know, you guys do with that what, you know, you will. Again, this is only an issue should somebody, I guess, have an issue with it. And
Bonnie also sends a
course.
list of many cities that do it that way. Like, I don't know. how many was
I
on
don't
the
know,
list,
because
but-
Bonnie did not send me any of that information for me to at least see, so that I could understand or reference. So I don't know what any of that says. There's also many cities that don't have that.
I thought
So
you wouldn't
I was
copy
very
that.
transparent in sending that email and copying all of you guys. I even called Bonnie that night before I sent that email to make sure it was clear. So the dialogue needs to be two ways. In other words, if you're gonna do research and you want my opinion, or you at least want me to know, maybe telling me about it before 8 o'clock during the meeting would be helpful. I mean, I certainly had that, I gave that professional courtesy to you all. So I've given you my advice. You all do with it what you will. I've worked with Brad. This very much controls how many people that you hire. And that directly affects the budget. This controls exactly how many people each department can hire. They cannot hire any more for any of those positions than what's laid out in there, which absolutely controls the budget, more so than the ordinance that is currently in effect. Because in that ordinance, it doesn't limit how many people they can hire for any position. They can hire, as long as it fits within the budget ordinance, within his payroll, Tom could go out and hire 50 maintenance workers if he can make it fit.
My suggestion is that we have two ordinances. One ordinance, that's the job descriptions. it's already written by the department heads, we're not writing it. And it has their qualifications they need and everything, and we have one separately.
Yeah, I'm okay with
And
that.
then have, what
It's been
she's
the third time
done
it's
here
been
is,
changed in
this
6
is
years.
fine with me. This is fine with me. I don't have a problem with this.
Okay,
For the
Not
pay
at all.
scales.
For the pay scales, not a problem with this at all.
Okay.
This is fine. I just don't wanna get rid of us having the part with the classification showing what they're required to be held for a job.
So,
If we can do a separate ordinance for that, I'm perfectly happy with that.
so let me just say
But
this.
this is great.
Let me just say this, because we talked about this, and again, the part is where the purview is. You know, we are allowed to do things that we can do. We'll just make sure that if we want to do this, okay, I want her to go back and make sure that we let them know that we're gonna do this, so that we're not in any violation of KR statute, because this is what Catherine and I talked about. And I told you guys, the oversight is, the biggest part about this, you don't do these jobs. You should not, this is not what your job is. You're not a fireman. I mean, obviously Brad would have a pretty good insight on what for that to be a fireman, but outside of that, the rest of you don't. You're not police
That's not
officers.
what we're trying to do.
No, listen to me. I just want to finish. No, what I'm getting at is, it's okay. Let them give you the job descriptions. Let them,
They did, they're the ones who.
let them read, if we're gonna do this, let the departments right now, if it's not in a budgetary thing, we'll go to all the departments and let them decide what they want in there, and then that is what you vote on.
That's perfect.
That's
I'm-
exactly.
I'm-
That's
I'm-
exactly what we wanted. That's what we
I'm
wanted,
just,
yes.
no, I'm just saying, I'm just telling you that I agree with Catherine, but I'm not against you guys doing something, because it's not a budgetary thing. It doesn't affect this, but make sure it's understood. I don't want you to come back and go, well, you can't do that, you can't do it. That's not what, you can't just, you just get to see it and you approve it. Because if you're gonna come back, unless they put something crazy in there, then that's when you make your points. But overall, I think you can trust your folks.
I do trust them.
Okay. Again,
They're the ones that
you made
wrote it.
reference to something.
I mean,
No,
yeah,
no.
they're the ones who wrote them. I trust that
Okay,
they thought-
again, you've mentioned how much things have been bad for a while. So
It's not them that I don't trust.
No, but my point is again, over the years, you look at those jobs and look at all the things we're putting in, it's been really a massacre.
It
looks
has,
really bad.
but it's
I mean, the
been-
last one was horrible that we had to go fix. It was
Right.
god awful. So again, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna pass this budgetary thing, let her finish the reading here for this, if you're okay with that.
I'm okay
and
with
then
this one.
I will work on all the department heads, taking each of the positions on there, and we'll put a job description in. But in that process, we are going to go find out. If we tell them that we're gonna do this, and they tell us no, I'm gonna come back and tell you that. Okay, I just gotta make sure, but if they say it's
If
okay.
they say no, then at that time, I'm gonna ask to hire, for a second opinion.
Then you can, I mean, and again, you.
No offense, and I'm sorry I didn't send what I had to you. I thought you had that, so I didn't send it to you, cause I thought you had the same book I had. Do
Well,
you-
it's- it
do you
just-
have this?
When you say several cities, Rob.
I'm sure I
Yeah.
had it somewhere, yes.
I think it's very important. A lot of times you don't see that, and I don't know how many several cities are out of 408, but there's still 8 cities that still have civil service out of 400, and we're one of them. So again, there's some things that we've done isolated that sometimes I think we've maybe well-intended, but we can tell that some of this is not working out.
I agree.
Okay,
And I
and again,
think-
you can tell
I
the
agree.
stories, you can tell the stories.
And I think Catherine agrees too, that it's not necessarily illegal to do it the way we're doing
No,
it.
no, 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 hold up. If KRS says these are your job duties, whatever they are, A, B, C, and D, here's what you can do, then that is all you can do. And if you try to do E, then yeah, it is illegal. You cannot do that. The state gives the power and sets forth the power between the legislative branch and the executive branch.
Right.
And he can't overstep his either.
No.
And believe you me, he has tried, and I have told him, no. Not really like on purpose, but.
No,
tell
she's
him
been
no.
mean.
And I will tell him, like, no, like, this, you gotta do it this way, or it falls into this, so the question then becomes, and this is what I was trying to find out, is it a situation where you don't, what I wanna find out is that we're not violating any statute and having the legislative body overstep its authority. The
Yeah, I
way
don't
that
wanna do
I
anything that we
read
did.
these statutes.
That's what we wanna make sure of.
The way that I read these statutes, and there's no case on it. Why? Because probably nobody's going to court and suing a city over this stuff, so it doesn't get established. So it is interpretation, and you could go to 10 attorneys, and you could get 5 agreeing with me and 5 disagreeing with me.
I agree.
So I'm giving you, so that's what I'm saying. when they came back and, I mean, when they came back and said that, literally she says, job descriptions, this is what she wrote, job descriptions, job expectations, et cetera, are supervisory in nature with no impact on the city budget or other legislative functions. Therefore, creation and approval of job descriptions, expectations, et cetera, remain as executive authority duties reserved to the mayor.
Okay,
Right.
so I agree with that, but
But if you all,
We're not-
if you all tell them to do it and you adopt it by ordinance, it's, you all are taking that away. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
what I'm wanting is to say that they have to have certain education.
I don't think you can say that either. Her et cetera included that. I mean,
You can't require that an accounting person has to have accounting.
There may be some of that in there. No, that's not, again,
But the job descriptions are in the ordinances.
no, that's what we're taking out. They're in the current one that that we're repealing. So,
yeah, and it's been a mess for years.
I mean, cause I put in there that the ordinance also includes job objectives, job functions, qualifications, critical skills experience, educational requirements, physical requirements, reporting responsibilities. Put that all in there, basically everything. I think her et cetera was, instead of writing all those words out, was to include everything that I had said it listed. And so, that's just my,
It doesn't list anywhere that you write these descriptions. That's what, at least what we've read, and that's what Morgan and Megan are telling you, okay? If it's not in your list of purview, then you're doing something that you weren't given permission to do. And that's kind of what we've been leaning on, because if we're doing something that you weren't given, and again, it's not a budgetary thing. If you think about it, all of your things that you're saying are right. We do want to make sure, but you have ways of making sure you can get all the job descriptions. You can go through policy manuals. You can make sure if you have a concern with something that anybody does. And again, 14 years ago, I get it, and there's probably been some things happen before we came into office. I get it, but we got to make sure that it's because it's wrong. It doesn't make another wrong that you guys get to do it. We got to make sure that piece, and that's the part that I do agree with Catherine. The thing is, for me, is if every department put up the job description and handed it to you, would that be not being an ordinance? At least you would know what the job descriptions are. Okay, now, yes, can they change them? Yes, but at the same time, if we get it, I mean, you got to at least have some integrity on this piece to say, hey.
and by the way, let me tell you how you handle that if they change it and you don't think they're qualified. You go back and you amend the pay scale and you put 0 down for that position. And then you don't fund it.
Yeah.
That is truly how you deal with that.
That's happened.
They did,
There you go.
do what? Oh,
Oh, I was like, who's saying what?
yeah, that was interesting. And Bonnie, something that we discussed, Catherine and I, is in Diligent Community, there's gonna be a folder for job descriptions. It's going to be archived and active, so anytime they're changed, they're gonna be in that active status in this folder that you all can see at any time. So it's not like it's gonna be hidden in some book in a binder somewhere. It's gonna be online for you all to access, cause we talked about that. You all having the access to that
No,
when they change. And I did notice with schooling, they put desired, so now at that point, during the interview, what is making them say, okay, I'm not gonna require this from you because you've done it for 30 years? It does have desired, though. It's not saying that you don't have to have any education in there. So, and it does.
I
list
just
that
don't
stuff.
want things to get dumbed down, cause it's been done. Things have been dumbed down, created, jobs created just for buddies.
No, you
And-
all create the jobs. You all create the positions.
We
the
do
pay,
now. It
and-
wasn't before.
But that is truly your all's authority. That's exactly what you all should be doing. So if, don't take this wrong, Jody. If Jody comes in and says, I want to create the position of, I don't know, balloon artist. No, he can't do that. Nope, you're not creating that. You guys create it. You said how many people are hired in that position and what those pay rates are. That is how you control that. And if they start doing something squirrely, then that's when you go to them, to the mayor. And here's what I'm basing on. I just want to read this to you. So in KRS 83A130, when it's talking about all those duties, it talks about how the council shall by ordinance establish all appointed offices and the duties and responsibilities of those offices. So when when it specifically gives you that authority, and it doesn't give you that authority to do that for employees, because the previous one says, the council shall not perform any executive functions except those functions assigned to it by statute. And so that's my interpretation. Now, could eventually somebody take this to court and the court decide I've interpreted wrong? Yes, because every case has a winner and a loser. And then sometimes the people that lost end up keep pushing it and they win 10 years later. It gets reversed. They give it in. I mean, it's just, that's the law. So that is why, I mean, I just, this is, and I know, I don't know if you guys believe it, this is truly my interpretation and coming from me. Like, the mayor did not know any of this. I brought this concern to him. This is my concern of making sure that we are following the statutes.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add to this, when
Including him.
When she brought it, and again, I do want you to know that this is why we have a city attorney. She does actually advise me on which way we can do things. That's why we always ask. No matter what we're doing, if we have any doubt at all, we'll go to her, just like the department heads will go to her as well, just to make sure that we're doing things right. But when it comes to this piece, it's not a budgetary thing. And even though it can have consequences on money, but that could be anybody. We could hire somebody and did a really good job, and all of a sudden they did something in their personal life that caused a problem for the city, which would cost us money. Well, we don't prevent that. We just have to manage who we bring in. And for you guys, like I mentioned to you the next day, Bonnie, was you still have recourses. You guys still need to know you're gonna have these job descriptions, you're gonna be able to read them, and if you see something in somebody that's been hired, moving forward, it's not been that way. But I get what happened way back when. But, you know, we're trying to do things in a much different professional way in the last 2 years and 4 months than we ever have, okay? We are doing much better about all that stuff that's been an issue. And we gotta stay focused. And are we still gonna be concerned? Yes. I do want us always to pay attention to what we're doing. But that's because of due diligence. If you see somebody you think that's really questionable, bring it to my attention, or bring it to the department head first, and then bring it to me. And bring it up here to the council. Hey, I noticed this. Then there's a recourse that we'll take. You're telling me this is what I saw in that individual. And we've had that happen. All right? So we took action to take care of something you guys see. Well, that's our commitment. Again, can't forecast who's gonna be down the road in this position. But that's the council's responsibility to do these type of things, not get involved in the purview that it's not yours it's not been assigned to you. That's been the hardest part for me.
Oh, is the assistant finance director salary now?
It was, and then it got changed, but it's
Yeah.
supposed to be salary because the decision's made.
So from this standpoint, but I mean, are we at least at this point okay with, she's making, well, wait till Catherine starts pulling her hair out and.
Well, it's assistant finance director.
Are we okay with this
position.
reading? I know Bonnie, you said you were. Brad?
I'm ready to get rid of this.
But I still want to get a second opinion.
You-
Will you do me a favor? Will you send me that? Because I might have the book, but it might be on a different page, or who knows, because they come out with different versions.
So-
I've had this one since 2016.
So I like just your version. And I'm happy to
What-
look at it and reconsider. Like, never ever have I ever said that, like, I don't make mistakes or can't change my mind or have a different
You may with another day.
interpretation. Do what?
You may with another day.
But I did. I told you to write it down. But like, I'm definitely like, I want this to be more of a conversation, not me coming to you all and dictating it has to be this way. Not you guys trying to like find something and do a gotcha moment or me do a gotcha. Like, I really want to make sure that we are doing this correctly. Whether
Yeah, I
that's
think we all
able to
do.
write the job descriptions
Yeah, I do too.
or not able. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just trying to talk to you from my point of view. Like, I am not trying to come in here and say you can't do this or you're horrible people or you're trying to do too much. I'm just trying to make sure that we're doing this correct so that should somebody ever come and doubt us, we can say, no, we've done it right and here's why.
Okay.
So I'm willing to reconsider. I'm willing to look at whatever you have and see.
Okay, I will.
If they brought something else up.
I will make a motion that we get counsel for a second opinion.
Get what?
Counsel for a second opinion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Get their votes on that.
Yes. Bonnie,
Yes.
Brad,
I'm gonna say no for now.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
Rob,
Yes.
Faith.
Yes.
So what's gonna be the plan then? You get a second opinion, okay, so second opinion, let's just say that this second opinion agrees with me. I guess that issue dies then.
Yes.
Okay, if they disagree, then what? Are me and him gonna talk about, or her, are we gonna communicate about
I guess
where
we'll
we're at,
decide
or-
that after we talk to them, where we'll go from there. I mean, I don't know right this moment how to answer that. I think first is us having a conversation with the other attorney and seeing what his opinion is, and then go from there, and then we'll let you know.
Okay, cause I mean, I'm happy to talk to him, I'm happy if they disagree for pointing out, here's why, because at the end of the day, when we're up here, or we're anywhere, at the end of the day, I have to be able to defend what we've done. So if he's got a different opinion and he can point me to, or she, if this person has a different interpretation and can point me to it, then that's information that I need, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's gotta kind of legally answer for the city and this- and what it does.
I agree.
So, I'm requesting to at least know what this person says and be in
Oh,
touch
yeah.
before I'm just told at a meeting that they've said X, Y, and Z.
Oh, no, you definitely will know. Most likely, they'll probably agree to talk to you after we talk to them.
Yeah, because as I said, I'm happy, I was happy to go get the KLC opinion, I'm happy to talk to this attorney. I'm happy, listen, if they can reassure or point to something that I've not considered, I'm certainly happy to consider that.
Okay.
So,
All right, so this, we're okay with this one, going back to that. Are we okay with this, reading this? Oh, just make sure.
I am,
Okay,
I'm fine.
just make sure, because I mean, we're trying to clear everything up. Gotta go ahead and read that and get that done.
Yes, I'm fine.
Do
So-
you wanna change that?
all right, so Brenda was saying that the finance director, or assistant finance director, needs to be hourly instead of salary?
No, salary, so.
Salary, sorry, I said it backwards. Okay,
That's what HR told us, that
Yeah, that-
was a salaried, and it used to be.
'Cause it's a managing
somehow got
position. You
changed
guys
to
understand-
hourly. But they make decisions, it's an exempt
It actually
position,
flip-flopped twice, I think. It went
yes.
Yeah.
salary to salary, then back to hourly.
so
Yeah.
what does the salary range
So
need to
that would
be?
be 62,400 starting out with the $30 an hour.
Yeah, and then 82,992 was a top-out salary,
82,992,
yes.
okay. Okay. All right, are there any other changes that need to be made to this ordinance?
Well, Jody wants his balloon artist added. to the
Okay, does council want to add that?
I got you, Jody.
I know, I'm just sorry, I'm just making stuff up, trying to make examples.
I loved it.
It was pretty good.
That was my favorite.
Just trying to,
Yes.
Sorry, Jody.
okay. All right, so am I ready to read the summary?
Yeah, ready to read summary.
All right, City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, ordinance 025013, an ordinance adopting a personnel and pay rate classification plan for city employees and non-elected city officers for the City of Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky, sponsored by Councilmember Brad Whitaker. Summary, Section 1 sets forth that the ordinance establishes the positions, minimum and maximum base pay rates, and the authorized staffing levels for the appointed officers and employees of the City of Shepherdsville. Section 2 sets forth the positions, base pay rates, and authorized staffing levels for the administrative department. Section 3 sets forth the positions, base pay rates, and authorized staffing levels for the public works department. Section 4 sets forth the positions, base pay rates, and authorized staffing levels for the wastewater treatment plant department. Section 5 sets forth the positions, base pay rates, and authorized staffing levels for the fire department. Section 6 sets forth the positions, base pay rates, and authorized staffing levels for the police department. Section 7, sets forth the longevity pay for the administrative department, public works department, and wastewater treatment plant department. Section 8 sets forth that this ordinance does not allow or/slash permit a department to exceed said department's total payroll expenses as set forth within the applicable budget in effect. Section 9 sets forth the positions that are included and excluded as classified civil service positions. Section 10 sets forth the severability clause. Section 11 sets forth the repeal of prior ordinances in conflict with this ordinance. Section 12 sets forth the publication requirement. I want to circle back real quick, Mayor, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So, I want to circle back, because when we were talking about the budget, and we had several issues going on, I want to address, Jennifer, what you had talked about in terms of the bid on the basketball and all of that. So Tom called me, I can't remember when, Tom called me and explained, hey, we're building I thought it was the Gaga ball, but whatever, maybe it was both, and I just, I don't have my notes in front of me, and he said, we're going to be building this, and we've got different material for it that we're gonna need. Now, together, it will exceed the 40, or he thought it would, at least initially. I don't know if it did, but.
It did.
And so he's like, do we need to bid this out? And so, I found out that the material, it's different material. It was from different sources, different companies. And that we didn't have a general contractor. In other words, we were doing this work. So if we started the work at some point, we could have stopped the work at any time. So based on all of that, I told Tom he did not bid that out. And I based this on case law and an attorney general opinion. And what's interesting is this attorney general opinion is cited in the KLC big old handbook that they give out. Or you pay, I don't know if you pay for it or not, but, and what they say the AOG opinion says is the exact opposite of what the AOG opinion says. So whenever something's cited, like a case, a statute, or an AOG, I always go to the original source. And this is why I gave that advice. And you can still disagree with it, but I at least want to explain to you, what I read. So it was talking about, they were going to do a sewer line installation. So they were installing a sewer line. The total cost of the project was going to be about $25,000, which exceeded at that time the bid threshold. So their question was, do we need to bid this out? And they talk about, they talk about the services for a professional engineer, which did not need to be bid because of that exception. They talked about these other separate items of expenditures were legally and factually separable. So they gave the example of they needed manhole units, which were going to be $3,000. They would need a sewer pipe, which was going to be $5,400. Gravel, $300 and some. Boring, all this stuff, right? All of it was below. Each of these individual pieces was below the threshold at the time, but together exceeded it. And they also pointed out that, it said concerning the separate purchase of like the manhole units and the sewer pipe, those were necessary. Basically, the same company didn't sell them, so we didn't feel like we needed to get a bid. It says, however, even if the same company sold both, we believe the two items are separable. So on the other hand, so it says, on the other hand, certain things would not appear, such as like the hardware, the gravel, and the straw. However, these items when left together do exceed for purchases, but do not require bidding. And it talks about there's no hard and fast rule to follow other than that of good faith, where the usual customs and channels of trade have been applied, blah, blah, blah. So that is what I based that on. I based it on the fact that if we decided to pour the concrete for the basketball court or Gaga ball court or whatever, and we decided we wanted to stop that project, we could stop that project. We did not have to continue on with it. We didn't have to buy the lights. We didn't have to buy the fence. And all of those were provided by a different entity, just like the manhole covers and that. So that is what I based that on. And if you read the book and you read that Attorney General opinion, they do not say the same thing. And that just sometimes happens. People, and attorneys are people, and we just interpret things. I mean, that's why there's continuously case law, sometimes on the same issue for years. And even when it's decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, people then still think it's wrong and they will still fight it and try to get it overturned. So I'm just saying, you know, that's why they did that. It was based on my advice. I stand by that advice because I researched it. Somebody else may have played it, you know, safe and said, bid it out. The whole job, when it's all together, so bid it out. My thought is, if you can stop that work at any time and you don't have to buy the fence or whatever else, then you don't have to bid that out. Now, if we had a general contractor, we would have had to bid that out. I would say yes. Because at that
So-
point, once you hire the GC, you've got to continue on. You've got a contract with him.
We had, and we were in Lexington at the KLC conference, they gave us a very similar case where they had built a sidewalk and then built a walkway or a fence rail around the sidewalk, and it all added up to more than the threshold. And they were saying it was very illegal, so.
I don't know what that is supported by. I mean, the case law
Well,
and
because it's
AOG.
circumventing the.
No, but I'm
threshold.
asking what case law or what AOG opinion said that. Like, because I'm basing it on case law. I'm just telling you that's what I based it on. I understand that they, for some reason, have a different, I mean, they even say that this AOG opinion supports their position, and I just read to you verbatim that no, it was a sewer pipeline, and because the manhole covers were different than the sewer pipe, and it was a different material, you did not have to bid them out. It's just, it's the way that we interpret it. So I'm just telling you guys that that's how I interpreted it. That is why Tom did it that way.
It just seems to me that, because most of the time the laws like feel right, and, most of the time.
Well, if you think about why it is, so the reason why they did this, if you look at like what we call the spirit of the law, that's what we call it in Lilligore, the spirit. What is the spirit? What was this law to do? Why did we do this? It was so that you couldn't give your buddy a large contract and get a kickback. Well, they've decided that anything under 40,000, I guess they're going to take the chance on doing that. But I'm not for sure that we're going to get a kickback by using a fencing guy that was 5,000, because he doesn't care what concrete guy we use. He ain't getting that money. He's a fence guy. He's not selling us the concrete. So that was the other reason when I looked at that and the spirit of the law. Now, that is not to say that somebody couldn't go to court and make a case, and there could eventually be a case law that says the exact opposite of what I have said. But I will say that this was in good faith, and Tom certainly acted within good faith. And so I just wanted to address, you know, what that was based on. Like, I do the research. Maybe you disagree with my interpretation. We can disagree with that, but it's not as though I'm just shooting from the hip and pulling it out of thin air and saying, oh, sure, why not? I mean, I am reading this, and I'm going to the original sources. I'm not just reading a summary of whatever. I am going to the actual case law. I'm going to the actual statute. I'm going to the Attorney
I mean,
General
we went to
opinions.
the KLC lawyers. I mean, you know, when we talked about it, we went to them and asked them.
I understand.
Morgan was the one who said.
Morgan,
Yeah, we were
yes. Actually, Morgan and Megan.
Yeah.
They were both up.
They were both.
I understand. I can't answer what,
So all I'm going by is our legal representation up at KLC.
right. I understand. I'm just,
But
and
they're
I was
also the one
not,
that told you about the job descriptions. So, I mean, if we honor the fact that you guys make the comments about this and go in good faith, you don't get to do both. Pick one.
Well, neither do you all.
No, we're saying
well,
that.
no, I bet my
We're saying
opinions,
that. We're not
Jennifer, were
picking
based
both
on
either.
my own research both times.
Right, but
The
what
fact
I'm
that
saying is-
KLC
no,
agrees
you
with
say
me.
We can't, right, but
No,
they
no,
don't
no.
agree with you on the other one, so I mean, we're all having it both ways.
No,
is
we're
what I'm
not,
saying.
because I'm basing mine on my own interpretation, both times. The fact that KLC agrees with me on one and not on the other does not
Right.
negate
But
my
it-
interpretation
Right,
at all.
It doesn't negate their interpretation of it.
No,
either,
nobody said it did. I just wasn't there for that. I wasn't there. I didn't get to ask questions. I don't know. For all I know, they gave that advice because, you know what, if I was talking to, in a group setting of 400 and some cities, that's probably what I would tell them to.
So can we just say
Because
this?
it's safer.
Can-
If the project exceeds it, just get the bid, because how would I explain to 400 cities when I'm standing up at a podium, maybe how to dissect that?
So
Maybe that's why, I don't know.
Can we see one thing in all of this, though? There was a process we followed. We just didn't do it to go take care of a friend. And we actually went through our attorney, because I know when Tom asked me about that, I said, he said, I already talked to Catherine. That's the first thing I said to him. I mean, hey, this testimony here. I'm telling you that we do try to make sure that we're doing it up and up. If this is one that's disputable, do we have others like that? No. I mean, we can show you the invoices. We can show you everything that's out there. So this speculation, a little bit of what's happening, okay? Get it. You want a little more breakdown on the budget as far as capital projects. No problem. We'll put that out there. But it's the spirit of when we bring things like this, could have been a conversation long before these budget meetings. It could have been easily a conversation in the office. The thing for me is that when we look at what we're trying to get done, we are trying to get our legal advice to make sure. You get more information today than you ever got, Bonnie. You know that, and Faith, you know that. Okay, you get more information than you have ever gotten as far as what's being spent in the city. So we're telling you we're financially sound. We are showing you every month, every expenditure. And if you look at something and you want an invoice for it, we'll be glad to get it for you. There's nothing that's happening in that fashion. You see all the bank accounts. So you see every bit of money that we have. And you see at least an itemized of everything we're spending on that 30 million. That's the transparency we want to have. And so if we're going to take this is our city attorney. And when she tells me something, and she's right, she's had times where she said, Jose, you can't do that. And did I do it? No, because she said no. Okay? I get it. It's not about doing something conniving or mischievous. It's about, hey, you really need to stay in this lane. Okay? It's because I probably want to get something done quicker. Probably that's most of what it is, because we've got all these projects we're trying to get done. But that's how you have to look at this. You have to make sure that you look at where's the transparency and thing. But if you're insinuating that we're doing this, that's not really what's important here. Again, I'm not saying you are.
Not exactly, but that's,
okay, but my point is to all of you at this point, we can do things to make this thing work because we are doing the things right now in this community that's never happened. And I appreciate everybody's effort in making that happen. But again, I just want to make sure if we'll look at everything here, but we just wanted you to understand this specific situation was the only one. I think that there's something else out there within that same kind of 40,000 range. Tell us. Be glad to look at anything else that we've done, and we'll show you everything. That's just a matter of asking, because it's the day-to-day stuff. A lot of this the park has a general contractor, so it's all going to be bidded out by them. They're obligated by law to do that. So there's nothing that we are doing with that. We don't control that. They do all the bidding for it, and yet there are people that are taking care of this. We have site plans on all this. So I just want to make sure for you guys, just make sure that's the message I want to send. If you're looking for transparency, we'll give it to you. And thank you, Tom. All right, appreciate that part. I know what you did there. All right, Catherine, I appreciate that part as well. All right. Special meeting we have. Go through comments.
No, we don't do comments.
That's what I say. I saw that on the bottom. I didn't think so.
we talked, I did a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I would agree. I would agree. All right. Chief, can you stay a little longer while we all leave? And Chief Steve, can you kind of hang out for a while and crowd control?
If that'll get you all leave on, yes.
All right. All right. I heard that. Well, Bonnie's been doing a lot of talking down there.
Motion to adjourn.
With a second.
Second.
All right. Miss Brenda?
Bonnie,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Faith.
Yes.
All right. Thank y'all for coming. Thank y'all for staying.